everyone. All right, tonight we welcome back my guest, Matt, to talk about some political and racial issues happening in America and dive into what has been making the news. We have Lebron James had the N-word sprayed across his house, actually his front gate. Bill Mahr referred to himself as not being a house N-word, but somehow it was Senator Ben Sasse who was criticized instead. James Comey testified in front of Congress on his firing by President Trump, and while both sides were hoping for a slam dunk, funny little pun there for tonight's game, instead both sides were given fodder to continue the argument. Reality winner, the person, not a show contestant, was found to be leaking classified information to help bring down the Trump presidency, but her background details are far from a patriot, that's for sure. The left's favorite socialist hero, Bernie Sanders, isn't offended when radical Islam proclaims the death of infidels or their killing or their statements of faith, but certainly has a problem with the Christian faith of a Trump administration appointee. A liberal leftist group is patrolling Evergreen University's campus after multiple external threats and are starting to scare students. But is it the baseball bats they are carrying, or the fact that they look like rejects from a homemade video version of the Suicide Squad? We begin there on the Generation Y Conservative Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Generation Y Conservative Podcast. I'm glad you could be here where the truth is greater than agenda. You can follow me on my social media. Right now, you may be watching on Facebook Live, which goes live on Thursday or Friday nights. But the best way to find out on when I'm going live is to go to my Facebook page by searching for the Generation Y Conservative. And when you get there, hit like, share that around, and you can also hover over the following button and head down there to the Get Notifications. That will let you know whenever I go live with the podcast, because that's just a fun way to get a behind-the-scenes look at the podcast coming up, which always comes out in HD audio and video on YouTube, which you can find me on YouTube by searching for the Generation Y Conservative there as well. You can also follow me on Twitter and get involved with questions and comments and sharing around things I say by searching for the handle @GenYConservative without the E on the end. You'll also find the audio versions of this podcast now on Google Play, Stitcher, and now iTunes, because of KLRN Internet Radio, which you'll hear this podcast rebroadcast, basically, on Sundays from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. I want to welcome back my guest for tonight, Matt, who is one of the hosts of Geek Nation. So you can find him online on social media. I actually tagged him within the page itself, but Matt, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit. Again, I always like to cross-promote and get some things done. So tell us a little bit about Geek Nation, what it's doing, and we are certainly going to go and dive into some of that stuff tonight as well.
Well, thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure to be back here again. So Geek Nation is a Facebook community and group that is people like myself who are a combination of jocks, current or former, and also are big into geek culture, so people that can talk to NBA finals like that and all of a sudden be talking about anime, movies, film, music. So we cover a lot of different topics. We have a podcast ourselves, the Original Geek Podcast, that you can find on YouTube as well as on iTunes. Just search the Original Geek Podcast. And like I said, we have a Facebook community and hoping to do a bit more on the video aspect this summer, Lord willing. But we're just people who love sports and who love geek culture, that love combine the two and sharing that.
Do you want me to get into some other project that you're working on too?
Yeah, that's cool.
Go ahead.
Pardon me. I am also an entrepreneur, so I currently have a Kickstarter going on for a faith-based apparel brand called In His Image. You can search that on Facebook, just search In His Image. On Twitter at In His Image LLC, or on Instagram In His Image _apparel. We currently are in the midst of a Kickstarter. As a solo entrepreneur, it's tough to raise funds. So I needed $8,000. I saved $2,000 myself. So my current project goal is $6,000. A lot of great back rewards there. Shirts. I got music that some wonderful hip hop artists gave and a wonderful DJ friend of mine mixed. as a great reward. So I really appreciate the help that we've gotten so far. So if you're a person of Christian faith, it's particularly for that. But of course, anyone can, because one thing we do is we are big on philanthropy. We're a lifestyle brand focused on expressing the external Jesus Christ impact externally as well as internally. So we're big on doing that through our fashion and through philanthropy. So 10% of every quarter's profits get donated to a particular organization, which you can go onto the Kickstarter as well as the Facebook profile to learn more about those particular organizations. They're not big ones, they're ones that I personally know of, so I know where the money's going, and I can trust that the people are actually getting help and not, not like going to the Red Cross, something like that.
Is that a consistent charities that you're with?
Four consistent ones.
Okay.
Each quarter.
Okay.
And then we do additional ones as go on. So along with my Kickstarter, one of my brand ambassadors, a lovely young lady, she works with Game Church, who do missionary events at different cons, and she's trying to go to not PAX. I think she's trying to go to E3, I believe. I forget. But if we hit our goal, every dollar after our stretch goal, we're going to be giving 10% to her over our 6,000 goals. So our stretch goals met. We're going to help her try to get to that event as well. So we do a lot of.
Can I ask you real quick what she does there?
So what she does there, so what Game Church, what they do is they go to a con, like a big, like New York Comic Con, for example. They have a booth. They have Bibles specifically for gamers. It's called. You can actually it's on iTunes now.
Oh yeah.
In the App Store, yeah, Gamer Bible. It has a picture of Gamer Jesus with a headset on, holding an Xbox 360 controller. But it's called Jesus for the Win. And they just go. They sit there and they are awesome. They talk about Jesus to people at conventions and show that Christians can be gamers and be geeks too, and cosplay and all types of stuff, and without having to, without compromising. So, as it's
got representation right
exactly.
Here, and they're of all colors.
Exactly,
it's the best thing ever.
It's great. So it's one of the, I personally want to do that myself. One of my goals is to actually join them.
Yeah.
And they're a great group. So you should add yourself. You play a little bit. Add yourself to the community.
I actually, as soon as you mentioned, are on Facebook.
Yeah.
Game Church. I follow them.
Yeah, Game Church, and they have a Facebook community called Game Church City. That you don't have to be a Christian to be in. There's a lot of people in the community that aren't Christians. There are atheists, there's Muslims, there's agnostics, so that are in the community because we love talking about gaming and the culture, and we're a safe place where you don't have to worry. We don't have to worry about people being vulgar or people being rude, and if they are, the admins are quick to get rid of trolls. So awesome. It's a really cool place to hang out.
So we're actually going to be getting back into quickly some of the geek culture type stuff, specifically gaming and movies, before we actually get into some of the bigger topics. And before we go into that, though, I want to. Oh, thank you. Here you go.
It's okay.
My lovely assistant. Okay, so before we get into that, though, he was mentioning charities that he's involved with. I want to talk about some of the charities that we're involved with. This month, we are spotlighting a charity recognized for their great efforts here in the Lehigh Valley. Whereas last month, I mentioned last time we focused on a men's charity. This month is a woman's charity, or a charity for women, called Truth for Women. Now, the Truth for Women's mission is providing restorative care for sexually exploited women and increasing awareness. And I just want to give you some facts about sex trafficking. 1.2 million children, mind you, will be forced into sex trafficking. Trafficking is the second largest criminal industry in the world and is the fastest growing. Here in America alone, the average age of a sex trafficking victim is 12 to 14 years old. Worldwide, some victims are as young as 5. 27 million people in the modern day slavery. There's 80% are women and children, and generates $31.6 billion every year. The average lifespan of a trafficking victim is 7 years. Now, with the Truth for Women, there is an option on their website where you can host a home gathering, and this is an event that gives you and your circle of influence and the opportunity to impact lives of women that they serve. Through learning more about Truth for Women, you can become inspired with this, get involved, and financially support Truth for Women. So for more information, you can, about that specific event gathering that you can host at your home, church, or business, you can email them at info@truthforwomen.org. And you can also find out more information about how you can volunteer and donate to this great cause by visiting www.truthforwomen.org. So, I have a script here.
Okay.
But things have been happening this week in our realm with the geek stuff.
Yes.
Where do you want to start? Video games or movies? Because I know you're itching for one of them.
Let's start with games because I've been my PS4 controller broke, so I've been going through withdrawal. That's
why you should probably switch to Xbox One with us, the rest of the good community.
I actually think about buying an Xbox 360 only because Xbox One.
Yeah, please.
Because I saw it on. Hey, if you're a fan of Monoprice, they sent an email. He got 500 gig white Xbox One, $130. I think it was on back order, but I was like, yeah, I might do that. But no, I love my PS4. I was a little rough. I got more kids than you do. A little rough. On my controller, so I had to buy a new one, and Amazon told me it got delivered today. So I am going through a little withdrawal.
Okay.
So yeah, let's stick to gaming because I need something to get me jazzed up.
Absolutely. Well, the one thing that you mentioned was E3, and E3 is actually starting on Sunday with Microsoft's press conference beginning at 4:45.
Yes. What's going to happen with Scorpio?
To be honest with you, Scorpio, that's like down the line for me. Like once this thing craps out on me and everything, but and that kind of system, you need a 4K or 8K television for it really to pop and everything. So that's like investing a lot of money, a lot of time into that stuff. But I am excited about some of the things coming up. I've actually been part of the alpha testing for a rare game called Sea of Thieves.
Yes.
It's a pirate game, and it's phenomenal.
Okay.
It's great. Okay. It's a lot of fun. It's a cartoony type game and everything, but you need the help of your whole crew on the ship to lower the sails, raise the anchor, guide the sails in the right direction, and someone watching the map while the other one's steering because you can't see past the sails. Like it is a serious pirate ship game.
Okay.
And then you go to battle with other ones as you're treasure hunting. It is really neat. So I'm looking forward to more information on that.
Because I want to know, like, how do I get promoted from like working the sails to be like the captain? Like, because who wants to be working the sails for the pirate ship? That's boring.
Well, if you're working the sails, you get to man the cannons too.
Yeah, but they don't get the glory. They get blown up. Like,
also, I don't know if you're familiar with the Crackdown series. Crackdown 3 is sure to be a big thing. Red Faction kind of kicked off the destructible environments, and this is going to be going with that too.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to a lot of things. I mean, PS4 should be showing off that Days Gone By.
Yes.
Have you seen that zombie game?
I have.
That looks incredible.
My things I'm waiting for mainly would be games that keep on pushing back. Like IGN reported recently that Shenmue 3 is being pushed back. Final Fantasy 7 keeps getting pushed back. But Naughty Dog still has me interested as far as for great, now I forget the name. It's right here at Xbox side. You don't get those awesome exclusives.
Is it the little girl in the...
The Last of Us.
Last of Us
2, which is the best zombie game ever. Like, just phenomenal. So I'm waiting for that. Red Dead Redemption 2 got pushed back, too. So all the stuff I'm
When did
waiting
it get
for.
pushed back to? I didn't hear about that.
I was too disappointed to read the whole article.
Seriously.
But you know what? It's Rockstar. I'll give Rockstar all the time they want because when they release a game, it's right. It's awesome. Like, people are still buying Grand Theft Auto 5 that came out in 2013.
It's the biggest selling game of all time, I believe.
Yes. Oh yeah, by far.
And the updates that they push out make it a whole new game every
almost
update
every
that
time.
they push out.
I would like them to push out some more heists online.
Yeah.
But aside from that, like I'm interested for the whole gun running thing that's about to drop. All the different the light race thing like that was Tron like it was. The Rockstar, they can have all the time in the world to build.
I agree.
To develop games.
If they bring a multiplayer component that opens up the whole world in Red Dead Redemption,
I'm hoping and praying. Oh, because that would be amazing.
Well, listen, I don't want to stick around too long on the games because we do have something that released tonight.
Yes.
While you were in the car, you got to see people posting it online because it was released during the NBA.
I have not been able to see it yet.
Yep. So we're actually going to talk about. We're big Marvel fans.
Yes, indeed.
We got some racial issue topics that we're talking about tonight, and we discussed in the last Geek podcast the superheroes of color and everything, and we talked about the lack of it and Black Panther coming out. We were both excited about that.
Excited.
And so during the NBA Finals tonight, they actually released a teaser trailer, not the full trailer, for Black Panther.
Yes.
So
if anyone knows me and how much I love basketball, the fact that I'm here and not watching the NBA Finals shows how much I love this man right now.
So we're going to take a quick look at the Black Panther trailer, which is the first time for Matt to see it.
Stop talking and run it then.
There we go.
Tell me something. What do you know about Wakanda? It's a third world country. Textiles, shepherds, cool outfits, all a front. Explorers have searched for it. Called it El Dorado. They looked for it in South America. But it was in Africa the whole time. I'm the only one who's seen it and made it out alive. I can see you.
The world is changing. Soon, there will only be the conquered and the conquerors.
Step into the spotlight.
You are a good man.
Step into the spotlight.
With a good heart. And it's hard for a good man to be a king.
What do you think?
Oh man! I mean, I've been almost literally salivating for this film. I've been a Black Panther fan ever since I was probably 8 years old in my grandmother's house in Wayne, and I snuck upstairs to the attic where I wasn't supposed to be, where my Uncle Van's room was, and he had my Uncle Van, my Uncle Steve, and my Uncle Christopher all had big comic book fans, all had comics. Old comics from the 60s and 70s. So I found in Avengers. It was during the battles with Magneto, because he was actually originally Avengers. And because, the Maximoff, it's his kid.
Yeah.
So, Quicksilver, it was Scarlet Witch. So I'm reading this, and I was like, oh, this guy, Black Panther, cool. And most of the time, his mask was on the entire time, so I didn't know much about him. So I asked my uncle about him. He goes, oh, I'm Black Panther. He started telling me about him. And so I've been a Black Panther fan most of my life. Mm-hmm. So... do you recall, I think it was HBO. I forget what network it was, but they had a stop motion cartoon for Black Panther. It was rated, and okay.
No.
Watch it. Djomu Dusunu, I think how you pronounce his name.
Okay.
The black dude from the African brother from Gladiator.
Okay, yeah. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes,
yep.
He voices Black Panther in that.
Nice.
It's really strange. The episodes are short; they're like 5 minutes long or something like that. But it was excellent.
Yeah,
really good. So
it was a movie, not a series.
No, it was a series of shorts.
Okay,
so it's like 5 minutes, like 8 5-minute shorts, something like that. But it was excellent. And just having that a couple years ago was like, okay. And then when obviously they announced the film, they were going to go into production. I've been geeked out for this, for years.
Yeah. So listen, I read the synopsis this week for what the film is actually about. Black Panther
Yes.
returns to Wakanda, which is actually famously known for the metal that is used in Captain America's vibranium in
only
Captain
place you can
America's
get it in the world. Yeah.
Shield. You have, is it Dr. Claw or Professor Claw or something like that?
It's been both, but I believe it's Professor.
So played by the guy who does Gollum and everything in the Lord of the Rings. But he returns home to Wakanda as the new king because his father was killed in the Civil War.
Correct.
And there is a battle for his throne.
For the mantle, yes.
Yep, so he has people within his country that are battling for the throne.
That's actually how the Black Panther gets chosen.
Okay.
Every successor fights for the right to become the king of Wakanda.
So Michael B. Jordan's looking like a bad guy in this one.
I'm actually glad. As much as I like Michael B. Jordan, sometimes I've been like, okay,
he's always a good guy.
He's not the good guy. Right now, he's the hot African, American, as far as black actors. He's been almost everything lately. Fantastic Four, Creed, this. He's been in a whole bunch of things. He's what's hot right now. Same with Zoe Saldana, the female side. She's what's hot right now. I love him. I'm glad he's in this. Because at first I was like, oh, Michael B. Jordan again? Like, I love the dude, but, like, stop pushing Michael B. Jordan on my face. But being that he is a villain in this one, I'm interested because it's giving him some time to show his range, to show that he can do more than just be Vince from, Friday Night Lights or be, Creed's son or always being, the good guy. Let him show what he can do.
I have two predictions.
Okay.
Number one, in regards to the full trailer, I think it's going to be released with Spider-Man, which is just
that
around
makes
the
sense.
corner.
Yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming is just around the corner.
Yeah. Two, I think you're right. I think we're both right. I think Michael B. Jordan's going to be a villain in this one, but I think he's going to stick around the series. I think once the true king is chosen, he'll come around and be a good sidekick kind of character.
I really do, because I know whose character is. So,
okay. I don't know anything about Black Panther.
I know his character is, so I know he is a villain.
Always.
So that's a villain. Yeah. So I'll leave that one spoiler alone.
Okay.
I'm concerned with him coming back because one thing that Marvel has been doing that I just don't like is they keep killing all their good villains, or even villains that could be good. Crossbones should not be dead. They killed him. Even in the Netflix, they killed off Purple Man. Maybe you couldn't keep Tenet, I don't know, but you killed a great character.
Purple Man?
Yeah, Jessica Jones.
That was his name? I thought it was something else in that.
Well, they called him Kilgrave. That's
Kilgrave,
his name, but
yeah.
Comic book fan.
Best Marvel villain to date. Because he's great. Because when you can control people just by speaking,
right?
Like, what do you have to do?
And also in the comics, he's actually purple. Like,
his
skin's purple.
Yeah. He wore purple suits or something.
Well, he wore purple. Yeah. Well, David Tennant wasn't going to fake. He's Doctor. He's not going to face purple paint on his face, shave his head. That wasn't happening. But another great character they killed off, Cottonmouth. Cottonmouth, he's amazing. He's a great actor. But Cottonmouth is one of my favorite Luke Cage villains, especially in the early days. And killing him off in the first season, I was like, bruh, like, this is Cottonmouth.
Speaking of which, we have the Defenders coming out this summer.
We do?
I'm excited.
I'm excited, but I'm also, because of the flop that was Iron Fist, I'm also, I don't know.
I agree.
Because Daredevil was excellent. I love Luke Cage. Jessica Jones was like, and then Iron Fist started off like,
I actually liked Iron Fist. It was the weakest of the links, right?
Oh,
I really like Jessica Jones.
The problem with Iron Fist is what I said to you before it even came out. Is Finn, nothing personal against Finn Jones. I like the guy; he's great. Game of Thrones. I just not think he could pull off a martial artist, and he can't. And some of the writing for him was just goofy. Like, I think it was.
Well, you know why he didn't do good in this, right?
He can't fight.
Well, no,
he
blamed it on Trump.
Oh,
I don't know if you heard about that.
No, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Non-success of it.
He blamed the failure of the show on Trump.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was the fact that his choreography was horrific. He can't throw a punch or say. Now, they had the woman that plays Colleen Wing. I forget her name. She's fantastic. Obviously, Rosario Dawson is always a good
night nurse, right?
I think she's going to be the night nurse.
Okay. Yeah.
The guy that played Ward, amazing. The guy that played, I forget her name. The sister, great. The dude from 300 that played their dad, great. Everybody.
Who was the sidekick?
Oh, his
Asian girl.
Oh, Colleen Wing.
Yeah,
she's really pretty.
She's excellent. I'm just saying she was a good sidekick. But while you're on the topic, I agree.
But like everybody but him was great. And then they gave him goofy lines. Like, episode 8, he's getting his butt kicked, and he's like, "I'm the immortal Iron Fist. I never lose." I'm like, what are you talking about? You lost a fight every episode. You never lose. You've been getting trashed. You got beat up by the dude with the doing drunken boxing. You got beat up by a regular security guard guy. Like, what do you mean you never lose? Like.
All right, well, so let's get into topics for tonight. Right. We got some video games and movie stuff out of the way there, since we got one of the hosts of Geek Nation on here, so I figured we'd dive into that a little bit before we got into it. So again, you can look for Geek Nation.
Geek Nation, search Geek Nation on Facebook. Search the podcast, the original Geek Podcast on iTunes.
Breaking my stuff.
and YouTube. Give us a like, subscribe on YouTube. We appreciate it. We're starting to broaden some other video content for viewing as well as audio pleasure. So if you like hearing people rant and talk about video games, sports, and somehow how some of those connect together, we are the three Geeks, Jock plus Geek, that you want to hear.
So before we actually move on, speaking of movies, I did video the Wonder Woman review on Monday.
Okay.
That we did, and haven't edited it yet.
Okay.
So that will be coming up shortly.
I still have to see the film. I'm very excited. I wanted to go opening night, but I think I forget. One of the children were sick or something like that. I couldn't go, but I can't wait to see Wonder Woman.
It's worth seeing. I will say that my score is not phenomenal for it.
Okay.
But it is definitely worth seeing at least once. I will say that.
Okay.
And I should have that review with my buddy Mike, who has been on the podcast multiple times, as well as movie reviews. That edited video of the review for Wonder Woman should be up hopefully by Monday, maybe even sooner, maybe even by tomorrow night.
Well, we're talking reviews before we jump into this thing here. Let's propose right now we do a joint review for Spider-Man: Homecoming.
I want a big group. I want to pack my car full of people for one of these movies.
I'm down.
So I have to warn you though, Mike called the front seat on that one. So.
Me and Mike will talk about that. I'm a little bigger. I'm a little stronger. Me and Mike will talk about that. My legs are a little longer. We'll talk about that.
So okay, that's good. So I got you. I got Mike. I think Nick will be coming along for that one as well.
Clarky get free.
Hey, I invite him to everything. He doesn't want to get involved in the political podcast because of his job right now, but
makes sense.
The geek stuff, he said he would be willing to come back on if we have another geek episode. And I would think if he's down for Spider-Man. But to be honest with you, I invite him all the time, and has to see that stuff with his wife, and
of course,
and kind of kicks me to the curb. So I don't know what that is about. I have to say though, it's pretty cool that his wife wants to go see that stuff, and she does,
which is awesome.
Yeah, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hint, hint. For wives out there, girlfriends.
My wife is more than willing, actually, except for Wonder Woman, because my wife is so incensed about Gal Gadot. She thinks because my wife loves Linda Carter. She thinks Wonder Woman. She thinks Linda Carter. So she
not after this one. She won't be.
She absolutely she refuses to see it. She won't see it because she wants Linda Carter to remain in her mind as Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and Adam West is still Batman.
Hey man, I love that. I love that Adam West is Batman, so I can't front. I have the movie, and I'm not ashamed of it.
So have you heard about Evergreen University? What's been going on there and everything?
To be honest, I hadn't heard the rumblings about. I heard the name popped up, and I've seen a couple things, but I didn't read or watch anything about it. So this is all fresh to me. So let me have
Okay. So in Evergreen University, a vigilante,
by the way?
Oregon. Or Washington.
Yeah, okay.
It's one of those
That makes
western
sense.
states.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a liberal
that makes sense. Okay.
State. So in Evergreen University, a vigilante student group has started a community policing group, and they're wandering the campus with baseball bats.
That's safe.
Yeah. And more left-leaning. So, baseball, you ready for the hit? Oh! Oh, no!
I'm sorry, was that my LeBron James flop?
Wait, I have to do...
Oh,
I have to do the we don't assume line for every episode that I do here. So while the specific reason of the formation of the bat-wielding group is not known, speculation is that the group was formed in response to campus closing on Monday due to an external threat, which happened to be, actually it's mentioned right here. This will be the second time the campus is closed in 4 days due to threats. It's the end of the year. I think that's typical. I think it's probably finals time and everything. The first threat closed the campus for 2 days after someone had phoned the college saying that someone was going to bring a .44 Magnum to school and shoot communist scumbags. Now, let me tell you something.
What is this?
What are your thoughts?
Okay, are we back in the 1980s that we're trying to shoot the commies?
Well,
or is this okay? Or is this? I mean, this could be a lot of things. One, I mean, this could be, like you said, it's finals. It could be a hoax for somebody. Like when we were in high school, the whole thing was, let's call a bomb scare we can get out of school.
Why would they say communist scumbags, though?
Either they're stuck in the 80s, or they want to give off the impression that they're conservative, trying to, if this is a liberal school, I don't know anything about Evergreen.
As well as a liberal state.
Yeah, but I mean...
My feeling is...
You've got there's liberals everywhere, there's conservatives everywhere.
Yeah.
But, if you're going to say I'm particularly going to shoot the communist scumbags, you're either you're stuck in the 80s or you're trying to purposely make a particular group look a certain way.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. I'm not going to discount the first one, but with so many stories over the last couple months where someone says that they were attacked by Trump supporters.
And they were fabricated.
And they were all fabricated.
Well, I mean, not all. There were legit attacks, but some were fabricated, sadly. Yeah. And it saddens me as a person, just because there are ignorant people in this world, and we shouldn't be fabricating additional ignorance to try to drive home the point that there is ignorance. And ridiculous hatred for no good reason. That should not be that shouldn't be fabricated. There shouldn't be false reports, stuff like that. So that sounds fishy. I hate to sound jaded about it or just so dismissive because.
You can't discount threats anymore.
Well, you can't discount threats. There are crazy people out there. Not to go down the rabbit hole, like with what we say on Geek Nation podcast, but did you hear about Phoenix Comic Con?
Oh, that someone came in with a
JDS?
real weapon?
No, not way real weapon. Okay.
It was a shotgun or something.
This man, Matthew Sellers, 29 years old, came into the con with a loaded shotgun, 3 .45 caliber handguns, a combat knife, pepper spray, and here's the kicker, throwing stars.
Oh, man.
And he had a reminder on his smartphone that said, kill JDF.
Well, okay, I didn't hear about that. What's JDF?
Jason David Frank, a.k.a. the Green Ranger.
Okay. Oh, okay.
The Green
Power
Ranger,
Rangers.
yes.
I'm sorry.
The Green Ranger, bro!
I know.
For
some reason, I was thinking the Green Hornet in my head for some reason.
But that dude's been dead a long time.
Yeah, I know. What happened to Seth Rogen?
He's not the Green. No, don't even call him the Green Hornet. That is blasphemous to any real Green Hornet fan. Come on.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yes,
to hear about that.
And Jason David Frank, thank God he wasn't there at the time he was supposed to be, but they told him to come in later.
Oh.
And this
God's hand in that one, man.
This disturbed person apparently told people on Facebook that he was going to kill JDF and kill bad cops. That he could tell the difference between good cops and bad cops, so he's going to kill cops while he was there. And he started to tell people on Facebook, so of course they were able to identify him.
Particular reason on that at all?
No, but when the police, according to the police report, when they questioned him, he said he was the Punisher from Marvel Comics. The Punisher, he's the guy who has a lot of guns and shoots people. He said he was the Punisher, and that he had a smartphone that had a reminder set for him to murder JDF.
Lovely. So
you can't discount threats when even something as silly and outdated as I'm going to kill communist scumbags. Mm-hmm. You have to give it a small bit of credence until you know for sure.
Well, to go off of what you were saying, actually, I almost used it as one of the stories for tonight, especially since it was a racially charged story. And I'm not just doing that because Matt is on. He specifically asks me to go over these types of topics while he's on.
I specifically mentioned the LeBron one too,
James,
because but then we'll go into that.
Yeah. So one of my liberal friends posted a video of, you're going to hate me on this.
Okay.
It's Charles Barkley and another black gentleman who's on he's a host of something.
Talking to the alt-right.
The white supremacist.
I haven't had
white power
I've
guy.
seen that posted. I turned it on for a second. Something distracted me. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, Richard Spencer, I want to say, or something like that.
Yeah, I've seen that. He's the guy, that one video I showed you during the election that was doing the Hitler sign at that one rally, whatever, for Trump. And
okay. See, I didn't have any idea who he is and everything. And apparently, someone said that he has a big following. He has thousands of followers, but these big people have millions of followers now. Like he's
small potatoes on the. Yeah, he's got a small following.
What got me though, was on that video they put black banners on the top and bottom, and then put that they said different things, but they also said that he was a Trump supporter, right? I
didn't see that. I saw what it said, like black perspective meets white perspective or something like that.
Mine said he gets schooled by whatever, and Trump white supremacist Trump supporter gets schooled by black people or something like that.
Okay.
But what had me a little riled up about that is that at no point in that clip did politics ever come up, or Trump, or anything. So again, kind of like what you were saying, like putting out this false narrative to shine a negative public spotlight on something that isn't really there. And Mike and I were kind of talking about this last week, which is MSNBC. Their news is, well, if this is happening, then this might be happening. And you go so far down this what if this type thing that when someone starts tuning in, if they're in the middle of a story, they think that it's real, but it's all on fabricated, like, this might happen.
It's all on supposition.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So I took issue with that, and we got into a little back and forth with someone respectfully. She was nice about it. But I just hate that stuff. Trying to push this false narrative to shine a negative light on people based on.
It's sad because
that are connected.
So much of the media on both sides is notorious for it, and you really have to dig deep to make sure you're getting accurate, especially when these videos that circulate through social media. I mean, you have to really pay attention to what you're looking at or listening to, because they put a headline on there purposely to preset your mind on what is happening, and it may not be actually what's going on.
Right.
I didn't even bother because nothing personal. As much as I like Charles Barkley, I'm like, I don't even want to waste my time on this video.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I was like, what good is actually going to come out of this video? Not much.
Nothing.
So,
Nothing's going to change this guy's mind.
This guy is probably a troll. Barkley's a very level-headed, moderate.
He was about to lose it. I was hoping he would.
It was like go old school, throw someone through a window type stuff like he did back in the day.
Well, here's another thing that I pointed out too in regards to that video is that. So I have a newspaper clipping hanging in my house that was found in one of my dad's apartments in the basement, and it's from the early 1900s, the election, one of the elections, and along the side of it, there is all the parties that you can vote for, and there were like 9 parties.
Yeah,
there was a socialist party, there was a Democrat, there was a jobless party. It was a long list. We're down to Democrat and Republican, and
parties that mean very little, unfortunately.
They're not on the Richter scale, right?
Exactly.
And so we have nutcases like this that basically, so the person said to me, it's unfortunate that someone like this white supremacist, voted for Trump and became a representation of you guys. But who was he going to vote for? There's no other parties out there that really represent him. Right? So you have to filter the most fringe people on both sides into those two parties because there isn't representation for them.
There's not accurate representation for them. That's true. And I've been saying personally for a couple of years that we're going more and more into gonna have to have a multi-party system.
We gotta get back to it. I don't know how. Thankfully, it looks like this third party thing is kicking off with libertarians at least.
Right, but you truly have to Well, the only way to happen is actually people to find a candidate or candidates in their area that meet them. They actually have to get off their butts and vote, and you have to break the system.
Yeah.
Through the system, you have to break it. If you want to break a two-party system, you actually have to forcefully break it. We've seen shades with the support parole got in the 90s. Nader, the little support Nader had to at least make some national noise. Yep. Jill Stein, Johnson making noise this time. But you really have to, if you truly, because I meet so many libertarians and stuff who decide to abstain from voting. They make a whole bunch of noise,
absolutely.
But then they won't do it. Well, if it's really that important, and you say you're about freedom, and that person's supposed to do that for you, why aren't you taking yourself to the polls then?
We're going to be talking about some of that later. I had a thought over this week that I really fleshed out.
So either the status quo is not that bad for you because you're willing to sit home and let it go, mm-hmm. because if it was really that bad, you would do a little bit more about it.
Yep. So before we go on, before I forget, I actually want to show. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. These kids at this university.
Oh, okay.
With the baseball bats. So I call them the Joker rejects.
Joker.
So,
that's right. Because
I'm gonna
you mentioned the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I'm gonna block myself out there for a second, but that's the people.
Okay, I understand where you got this whole reject.
Yeah.
What is? I don't even know what he's wearing.
Right in the middle there.
What is he wearing?
That's your
bruh. What are you wearing? Is he wearing a man romper?
Well,
it looks like he's wearing a man romper.
And then you have a ginger Harley Quinn in the center there with the baseball bat over.
And what is those glasses? Why does she have green hair? Like, and I don't have a problem with green hair, but it's like piled up like ice cream on top of her head. What is going on there?
Yeah, so that's them. So
okay. Anyone that likes Batman can't say they have a problem with vigilantes because Batman is the ultimate vigilante.
Well, I'm labeling them this. Yeah,
but no. If you're walking around with baseball bats,
you're a vigilante.
You're a vigilante.
Yeah.
Now, I have a favorite vigilante, out in Washington, out in Seattle.
Okay.
His name is Ben Fedor. Have you ever heard Ben Fedor?
No.
Okay. This is real life, folks. I love this dude. If I was rich, I would fund his superhero quest. All right. This dude dresses up in costume. He patrols the streets of Seattle. They have, and he just looks for crime and he stops it. He is a mixed martial artist, so he knows how to.
Oh, damn.
And in Washington, actually, I don't know if you know, they actually have the law. I believe it was Washington or the city of Seattle, but there's a law that a fair combat. So as long as both parties agree, they can fight, and it's all good. No one's going to jail. So he patrols the streets, and he sees something, he stops it. He'll call the police or whatever. So he just goes, and he's in costume. He's mad. He's in costume.
Do they know his name?
Well, we didn't until he got arrested because somebody filed a complaint. Even though he was vindicated because he followed the law, they made him unmask himself. Very much like Spider-Man. The comic was very dramatic. They made him unmask himself, say his name. But he got on ESPN because of it. They did a little bit about it, how I heard about him. And his name is Phoenix something. His superhero name is Phoenix something. But I watched this video. Some guy was causing around. Some drunk guy was causing around in Seattle. He tried to cut it off, stop it. And this dude wanted to fight him. He goes, "You realize the law says if we agree, we can fight. So if you really want to do this, let's do this." And the guy was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And someone was filming 4 leg kicks and a punch. Dude, it was over. It was, But he has a kid and he wants to be able to provide a safe city for his kid. And he's like, I'm going to become a superhero.
So I just posted this on my Instagram account. Actually, there's a picture of a city where a man shows up to. He must have a police scanner, mm-hmm. which everybody can get those, right? Police scanner, yeah. But he shows up to every police call in a Batman uniform. He doesn't do anything. He just kind of stands there. And I say, if I was rich and had the time, I would probably do that just to be funny about it.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
Don't go in there. Go in there. I'm Christian Bale, and my accent is terrible.
Okay, so back to this story here. According to a professor, a student said Because I had shown some criticism to the protest that was occurring on campus in earlier weeks, I have become targeted and harassed by a wide number of students on campus. Recently, there have been a number of students who patrol lower campus with weapons like baseball bats and tasers who claim to be making the campus safer, but in reality are making campus more hostile. Yeah, I mean, as soon as you introduce yourself into a situation of a hostile
and
nature...
you're brandishing a deadly weapon.
Yeah. So someone's going to take it as a threat. And to be honest with you, I didn't put up the videos to watch tonight, but they are chasing down a kid who is walking around campus with chalk, putting the Pepe frog. Do you know anything about that? So apparently this Pepe frog is a symbol of the alt-right, you know? But they're going to get that offended over chalk that you could literally pee on and wash it away, and like, you know, that they have to chase this guy down literally with baseball bats.
I saw that picture. I really don't know if they're chasing anybody. I mean, yes, they've got bats.
Some of them you can outrun, I'm just saying.
They just don't look that threatening. None of them look like they know how to swing a baseball bat.
They can throw it over the shoulder. Some
they just don't. I mean, that one looks like what's her name? Elsa from Frozen. Unless you go let it go and freeze me, I ain't scared.
He drew Pepe the Frog. You know, let it go.
Yeah, just let it go. I don't know the song. Thankfully, I've got children that haven't even seen the whole movie, so I'm like the one father who has escaped seeing Frozen.
Well, okay, so the climate of Evergreen campus has been dangerously hostile. Biology professor Brett Weinstein faced backlash from students when he disagreed with black and Latino students forcing white students off of campus during the day of absence. Have you heard of that one at least?
Day of absence.
Yeah, I forget what it was. It was supposed to be more or less a day of solidarity to walk off campus and abandon classes and everything, but it was more so obviously the black and Latino community. Okay. Sorry, I have something in my eye. Okay. But they were basically trying to. These students were trying to force the white students off campus, and the professor was sticking up for them, saying, "Hey, we're here actually to learn. This is what the day is for. Like, you can stay, and we'll continue learning." You know what I mean?
People have a choice. If they want to go, cool. And to me, like, I would never, in my personal advocacy, for as a black man, I would never try to force anyone to go along with me because if I forced you, how do I know you're going? You're not going of your own volition. So I have no idea if you're going as genuine or not. Yeah. If you go of your own volition, then I know I have an ally. If you don't, and for whatever reason, fine. I know where you stand, or you don't know where you stand, or whatever. Like, but why would you try to? That doesn't make any sense. That's just stupid. Like
it's like walking in the protest and like the leader saying things and they're like, yeah, and then they say something and they're like start veering off. Nope, not gonna go there with you.
Yeah, or it could be like a certain senator from Vermont who boasted about marching with Dr. King, but when the black folk, the very few black folk, by the way, in his state, tried to get help from him and they said we felt ignored. Well, you
don't want to say a name to that one.
Oh, everybody knows who I'm talking about.
Who? Is he like a favorite among the left?
The Colonel's clean-shaven cousin.
Okay, so one student has already been assaulted by an Evergreen student mob. A freshman at Evergreen named Nolan, whose last name has not been given, protested the treatment given to Weinstein, the professor, with a video showing Nolan having water poured on him, his glasses ripped off and thrown by students, and in a second video, Nolan and his friends are accosted by a group of students, one of which is carrying a baseball bat. A coalition of students of color gave Evergreen College President George Bridges a list of demands on May 27th. One of these demands is that all weapons possessed by campus police be sold and for a student collective to develop and implement an alternative to campus policing. So you can read more on that story from the Blaze article posted on my Facebook page right now if you are interested.
I just want to know why they think they have a basis to demand that the weapons be sold.
First of all, demands are happening from students all over the country right now. Did you happen to see?
I want to know when one of these students who weren't even probably alive when the whole thing at Kent State went down. You're probably too young. Oh, you're not that much younger.
No, Sniper on Top, right?
Yeah.
Tyra Banks played in the movie, right?
Yeah, okay. You remember how
And that made me cry.
Yo, that's because this Tyra Banks guy shot, man. Of course you cried. I cried too. Yeah. But like, that was real. That was life.
Yeah.
That something like that hasn't happened in years. Now, if you want, in a time,
feelings are getting hurt right now.
Well, you know what? You know what? Feelings get hurt all the time, and that doesn't mean you need to. Because you know what? You take weapons away when people get hurt, and you bring the right people with weapons to help protect you. Because you're not walking around with weapons. So when someone like the Virginia Tech, tragedy happens, maybe you have somebody to help protect you. Because if God forbid Kent State happens there, what's going to happen if your campus security has nothing but pepper spray or a megaphone? What they're going to do is supposed to yell.
Oh, you got to yell for a student with a baseball bat.
Yeah, and in that part, they clearly don't know what they're doing with those baseball bats. Yeah. And anyone, and I don't understand that mindset, because if most of these people, I should say most, a good number of these people who do these dangerous attacks in public places, a good number of them know what they're doing. They have some sort of training with a weapon. Some of them are just novices, but a good number of them lately have shown some actual accuracy with a weapon. So if you want to be in a place where you're concerned about your safety and you're going to rely on a group of students with baseball bats dressed up for a very poor rendition of Suicide Squad for Halloween, that's why I celebrate Halloween, but just as an example, then campus police, who hopefully are trained to defuse situations properly with some sort of weapons, you know what? I'd say let them fine. It's a fine, then whatever.
The only person that can use a baseball bat in my mind, Negan. Which leads me to one of my favorite impressions. Can I do that?
But see, Negan only does it when someone's on their knees and he's got 800.
No, not true. Not true. Right? Little pig, let me in.
That wasn't bad, actually. That wasn't bad. Jeffrey D. Morgan would probably smile on that one.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into some of your stories. So the one that you wanted me to highlight this week is that LeBron James in Los Angeles was vandalized with the N-word sprayed in graffiti, according to NBC News and other outlets, across his front gate. So the Los Angeles Police Department told NBC News that it responded to a call that someone had spray painted a racial slur on a gate leading to James's property in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles at 6:44 a.m., so early morning last Wednesday. A source familiar with the incident told NBC News that the word had been spray painted on the gate. The slur was painted over by the time officers arrived, authorities said. It was not immediately clear when it was first spray painted on the property, and authorities will likely check video in the area to help identify the culprit. One of the things that LeBron said was, no matter how much money you have, no matter how famous you are, no matter how many people admire you, being black in America is tough, and we got a long way to go. He also said, my family is safe at the end of the day. They're safe, and that's the most important thing. So, you obviously had more to say on the topic, though.
Well, I had two. There was three big things. Obviously, one, the fact that someone, decided just to waste their time to spray paint this on his house, knowing that he doesn't live in LA full time. The man lives full time in Ohio. So
amateurs.
If you really want to show him, I'm going to get that dirty and where I'm going to show him, my spray paint on his gate to let him know how I feel. You failed because the man doesn't live there full time, and even if he did, he's working. So and he has a staff, and his staff saw it and cleaned it before he even found out. So your toughness that probably got caught on camera,
hopefully,
it probably did. If he's got any sense, he's got enough cameras that it got caught on camera.
Oh yeah.
Lasted probably a matter of an hour or two, and all you did was nothing. I mean, you accomplished absolutely nothing. I wanted to highlight the fact that LeBron handled the situation extremely well.
Yeah, absolutely.
With extreme class. Did you listen to get a chance to listen to the press conference?
No, I didn't.
Okay. I had one problem with the press conference that he said. He kind of made a loose connection to this incident to Emmett Till, which is ridiculous.
To what?
Emmett Till.
Okay. Go ahead and explain, because I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. If you don't know who Emmett Till was a young black man who was murdered after he allegedly said goodbye, baby, to a white woman in the South. He was originally from Chicago. And I believe he was in Mississippi when it happened. But they took him, they murdered him, they beat his face and dropped him in the river.
How long ago was this?
This was in the 1960s.
Okay.
I'm surprised you didn't hear about this, because the woman who accused him recently admitted.
Okay, so it wasn't his love interest or anything.
No, he was. Remember, he's from Chicago. He was down there seeing family, bragging about how he had this white girlfriend, stuff like that. This little flirtatious apparently with this white woman. I believe her husband and her son find him, take him, murder him. They lynch him. He's getting lynched, and he's left in the river. That was a very big event. During the civil rights era, it was like, hey, look, this is what's happening to us.
Yeah.
Very recently, I want to say late last year, the woman admitted that she lied.
Last year? Wow.
Yes. And the reason why she decided to come out and admit that she falsely accused him and got her murdered for no reason was because her own son passed away of natural causes, of course. And she felt pain of loss for her son. And then decided to thought to herself, I wonder how that poor black kid's mom felt when she lost her son all those years ago.
How old is she now?
80-something, probably. Jeez. But, so LeBron made a slight, allude to Emmett Till with this curse situation, which is ridiculous because Emmett Till was murdered, and it's nothing compared to Emmett Till. So what was the context? The context was what happened to LeBron, which was nothing, and he brought up Emmett Till as comparison, as a highlight. It's an event. It's like no. What happened to Emmett Till was tragic. What happened to you was stupid and petty. Was it racist? Sure, but it was petty. You spray paint that you didn't even see. That part, I was like, LeBron, okay, either you're reading a speech that someone wrote for you that they shouldn't have put in, or you just made a bad analogy. But for LeBron, and what I loved about LeBron said, especially, was one, you can tell LeBron's not worried about him. He doesn't care. He's worried about his kids because his kids shouldn't have to endure that, and he's also wants to, and he makes a very valid point that. I've been saying it, and I continue to say in different conversations, especially circling around Colin Kaepernick's protests and other players, people say, "Oh, they have money, they shouldn't talk." It doesn't matter how much money you have and how many fans you have. People are like, "Oh, you have money, it doesn't matter." No, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, we're still black in America. Not everybody knows who LeBron James is. Stephen A. Smith on ESPN, he got pulled over.
What position does he play in baseball, by the way?
Basketball.
I'm just joking.
I
thought you were
he likes pushing my buttons. No, he knows I knew he was joking.
I thought you was going to drop more.
He likes pushing my buttons. Stephen A. Smith from the ESPN got pulled over not too long ago, and
Wait, say this again?
Stephen A. Smith got pulled over not too long ago, and he was getting some pretty rough treatment. So a cop that recognized him was like, "Do you realize who this is? You should probably not treat him like this because
the last thing you do is Stephen A. Smith going off on you.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? It's going to be national news because it's blasphemous. But if they don't know who you are, you're just another black man or another black woman or another black kid. Right. Where they don't think you should be. You're in a car they don't think you should be in, or you're just another N-word that means nothing to them. And it's sad because that there's this thought process that just because you're black and you have a certain amount of money, you shouldn't have an opinion or talk about race problems in this country.
Wait, say this again.
There is a thought process that if you're black and you have a certain amount of money, that you shouldn't talk about race problems in this country.
Okay,
that you shouldn't take a stand, you shouldn't protest, it shouldn't be something that you talk about because you've made it. That entire, and I look at people when they say this to my face, and I'm like, I try to be respectful because but I'm like, are you serious? Like, really? So because he's got money and something happens to him, he's supposed to let something go. He shouldn't address it. It shouldn't be a talking point.
You got money, so
just let it go. Like, I mean, if you've got money and someone decides to call your child, you've got daughters like I do. So let someone decide to call your daughters, some crass word that's used for against women, just C word, whatever.
Yep.
Just because you're middle class in the suburbs, does that mean you shouldn't say anything? You just let it go. You can't address that.
Well, I would say, who are you talking about? Because they're not around anymore. No.
Exactly. You can't. Like you tell me I can't address that. Yeah. You tell me Johnny Depp, who's I'm not a big fan of his work as an actor, but I hear he's a marvelous father.
Those are fighting words.
Those are fighting words for him. Yes. I think the Pirates movies are garbage. But I hear he's a wonderful father, and he loves his daughter immensely. He's a great father with his kids. And you tell me that if someone spray painted, I don't know what ethnicity Johnny is, but some ethnic term on his, you don't think Johnny's not going to say something?
No.
You think Johnny's not going to be animated? Because that dude is going to get animated.
Listen, man, I gotta have a bottle of rum before I get into this one with you.
You think he's not gonna say something? He's gonna say something, not just be down for him, but because his children. And it was really hard for me, as a father, because with my children, my children are mixed. My children are half white, and my niece is also white. So for me, it's even harder because not only as a black man, do I have to explain to my black children what is going on when they hear things like this. I have to explain to them why people that look like mommy don't like people that look like daddy. And I have to explain to my niece...
going down a road that we've been down before.
Into my niece,
gets into a big conversation.
Well, I'm saying, and I have to explain to my niece, why, the same thing. And it's just... It's tough for someone like LeBron to... You have to deal because it's not tough for him. He's got to talk to his kids, And as a parent, you do your best to shield your children from the ugliness of the world as much as you can, within reason, because they do have to learn. But that's something that LeBron should have to talk to about with his 9-year-old son.
Okay, let's go down this road because I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think we've ever had this conversation on the podcast before.
I don't think so.
So we're wrapping up LeBron James.
Yes.
We can leave him behind. I mean, if you want to reference,
because we can tie this into the other one with
Bill Maher's next.
Okay,
it's
yeah,
right up because we're going to tie it right in and everything. But one of the things I've said to you, we've had, and to be honest with you, I don't know my podcast from our private conversations because we're always talking about it. You want to bring up racial issues with me to get my feedback, and I bring them up to you, and we start talking about them, especially with what's been going on.
Yeah, we've mentioned, and if anyone knows, we don't bring up for argument's sake. It's for just it's exposure, enlightenment to say, hey, this is what's as a talking point.
Yeah. So one of the things that we had talked about in the past is kind of like what you're talking about talking to your kids and everything, about the environment out there for racism, right? And I get that. I'm not completely ignorant saying that there isn't racism out there, because there is. Obviously there is. We do stories on them and everything. Mm-hmm. But the one thing I have to say about that is exactly what you're talking about, which is the the context in which racism is brought up within families and talked about, right? And I feel like there's this, there's been videos put out over the past couple of years of trying to highlight how conversations go between minority families, like kind of quick commercials, you know what I mean, that they put together, like a white room with a parent and a child sitting in a chair, and they get them on video, like explaining, that this skin color is bad to some people because of whatever, and they're trying to spotlight this conversation that's really tough for parents to have with their children. They show the children crying, like, why don't people like you, mommy and daddy, and everything. And to me, I'm watching this and I'm thinking to myself, like, especially over the past couple of years with the conversations on police officers and everything. I mean, we had the Dallas assassinations and everything. You had all the cases with black members of society like Trayvon Martin. Eric Garner, was it?
People still need to stop talking about Trayvon when we talk about this, because he was not killed by police.
Right, exactly.
But I mean, when people mention Trayvon in this conversation, then they are not educated, because Trayvon had nothing to do with
he was
police.
a patrolman that kind of...
He wasn't even a patrolman. He was a neighborhood watchman. But the Mike Brown situation.
Michael Brown, yeah.
The Eric Garner.
Yep.
The Baltimore situation, and then then the Tamir Rice. Also the Philando Castile, and then I'm trying to remember his name now. The one in Oklahoma, and then you had the brother in Florida who was on the ground when he got shot. So there's too many cases. To remember.
Here's where my point is going with that though, which is some of these videos that were put together were spotlighting how parents talk to their kids about how to handle a situation if you're pulled over by a police officer and you're a person of color, right? And they're talking about you have to keep your hands on the wheel.
Yes.
You have to be respectful to the police officer. Yes. Always be upfront about anything that's in the car and whatnot, and always keep your hands on the wheel. Everything like that.
Yes. Keep your hands in sight.
Yeah. To me, that conversation, along with the conversation that I hear about that they're having with kids and everything, is always this like mentality that it's almost like a talk like there's no hope in this country at all for you as a minority. Growing up, you're a kid and there's no hope. You are going to be squashed in society. You're going to be hated. There's no hope for the direction of this country. Racism is alive and well, and cops are out to get you. You know what I mean? And here's how you have to respond with police officers. Now, in regards to the police officer thing specifically, I would just like to say, I, as a white person, no, I'm sorry, I take that back, because white people are crazy. I'm Italian. I say that all the time. I'm a different beast altogether. But I'm going to have a conversation with my kids that I say, you do what police officers tell you to do. Now, that threat might not be as magnified as it is within the minority community because of assumptions, right?
Right.
Which I'm not going to be ignorant to the fact that those are out there. But it's these types of videos are making it out to be like white people have this privilege that they don't even need to have these talks, and they can mouth off to officers and do whatever the hell they want and get away with it, right? But I know many people. I was told growing up to respect officers, do exactly what they say, never fidget around with your hands in the car.
That part is not that unique, especially for us as men. That's not given the same as much as far as from my experience, from what I've seen and heard, and speaking with people to white women compared to what is told to men in general. Was men in general are always told to be respectful, because the natural assumption is that we're more threatening because we're men on top of it, and women is not. For us, I can't speak for all of us, and I know those videos you're talking about. I've seen them, and they're obviously
emotional.
They're produced to tug on your heartstrings.
Yeah,
especially because they'll always have it's always with a child. It's very rarely is it with a teenager, someone 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. It's always with a child who's probably 7 to 9.
Where they're so innocent into the world. They have no idea what's going on.
Where their innocence, because we're like, for my personal, I really didn't experience racism until I was 7, 8 years old. So you're at an age of innocence where you see this is happening to you, but it doesn't click. You're struggling to comprehend. Yeah. And then you look at your parent like, and even if you look at your parent, because as a kid, to be honest, I didn't. My parents had no idea what I was going through. My older sister told them.
Yeah, we had this conversation.
I told you, my older sister told them. So, even if the kid even has, because sometimes, I look back at it retrospectively, I didn't even know how to broach the subject. Yeah. Because it was just like, it was shell shocking. So, as I got older, and then it was time for me to learn how to drive, and, by this time we know each other, because, and I'm living out, I'm living out in the country now. So,
I had to drive out here tonight in the dark. Into the country.
In the country. So it's even, for me, it's an even greater concern. So when my parents had the conversation with me about how to behave, and it was never this whole thing of like, there's no hope for you, because they didn't raise me that way. I look at my parents and how hard they worked, and how hard especially my father worked, and how hard my mom worked to be successful, people of color in this country, where they could afford to do the things that they want to do. They could afford to, actually give my siblings and I opportunities. So I never had that. It was you're a young black male. This is a part of reality, and we just want you to come home safe. We just want you to come home.
Yeah,
that's what's most important.
We just want you to come
home.
But do you agree with me that other kind of conversation is out there? Like these people that just everyone's out.
I'll agree with you that the conversation is out there because they're putting it in front of you for you to see. Is it actually happening in that same tone in black homes around the country? Probably not, because what you're seeing there is not the conversation of a black single or both parents is generally having. You're watching a production to tug on your heartstrings.
If I may, real quick.
Okay.
Here's what gets me though, is all these dash cam footage and all this other stuff that comes out. Granted, we're cherry picking. I'm going to say that right off the bat.
Right.
But you see these individuals that mouth off at the police, right? And here's what I see in that, right?
That's you.
Real quick.
Okay,
though,
go on. Real quick. I'll let you finish.
Because I just want to finish the thought. What I see there is that kind of conversation that I'm talking about has led to what may have been an innocent conversation from parents saying, "Listen, you're going to have it's an uphill from here. Sorry, that's the way it is. But everyone is out to get you, especially cops and everything." It almost sets this mentality for the young people of America of color to say, well, if that's the way it's always been, we need to forge a new path in this country and make stuff happen. And I don't mean stuff, I want to say another word, And so they think, well, if this is the way it's always been done and it's still happening, people are keeping their hands on the wheel, and this racism is still as rampant as it is, maybe I need to start mouthing off at these cops and getting in their face and actually making the news and being an example of something. That's kind of what I'm seeing.
I'm sure that there's a couple who have that mindset, but even when I was more involved with the new Black Panthers and other more notable pro-black groups, that's not a message that's being disseminated. That's just asking to get. Yeah. That's just asking to get killed. That's not really something that's being pushed out there. I can tell you.
So, what is the message from people like groups like that? Because they're pushing back.
There's a pushback,
especially here in Philadelphia.
Let me give you an example. There's one. I think it was like in Virginia. There was this one. They stole this video. It was a body cam video. These officers approaching a black man, seeing his car. They talking to him. They demand he gets out. He asks them, who they're looking for. They refuse to tell him who they're looking. They refuse to tell him first who they're looking for. Then they finally say it. He goes, "That's not me. I'm someone else." "No, you're some so and so. Get out the car." He said, "Look, I have my rights. Check. Check. You can check. You see where I've been." And they pull him out the car. They tase him multiple times. And then they find out that of course they were wrong. They got the wrong dude.
Yeah.
And was he compliant? No. But the man does have the right to stay in his vehicle if you're all being ordered, and you say, this is who I am, and he's like, "Hey, I can show you my ID." They didn't let him show his ID. That is not, to me. That's not mouthing off. That's saying, you know what, you're having a case of mistaken identity right now.
Yeah.
Now
that's different. That
is a lot of things that's been prevalent happening.
Yeah.
You do have your cases of nuts who are like, F the cops, whatever, and they get themselves hurt. But a lot of them are situations like that, wherein you have. I'll give a very veiled example because I don't want to throw these people's business out the street. But three women that I know were out hanging out. Two of the women were white, and one of the women were color. They were at one of our local Wawas, and a police officer happened to be there. And
What's a great place to hang out?
Yeah. Good food. And they were all having fun, acting a little silly. And one of the white women looked at the police officer and gave him one of those looks, and then fake lunged at him and said, "What, officer? Are you going to arrest me for the funk?"
Wait, who said that?
One of the white women. And the officer, looked at her and laughed off, and and just like ignored her. And I'm like, and I hear the story because they're telling me the story. They think it's funny, and I looked at him like, "What?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "You do realize if you did that, you wouldn't be saying anything right now. You'd be in jail. You'd be hurt right now because you physically threatened an officer." Say she gets away with that, and again, she's white.
That's okay. So in that situation,
and that's just that's an example of, and I've seen similar, not that to that brazenness, but I've seen that occur where, I see people do stuff like that to officers. I'm like, I could not get away with that.
Yes, but the difference is here, that is a comparison that I believe is a false narrative, and the reason for that is because no one should be doing that.
Well, no, I
know what I mean.
I agree that no one should be doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sit here and say, well, because a white woman got away with it, a black woman should get away with it. I'm not. Well, I don't want to say the other way around.
Well, it's the same thing with the unfairness as far as the penal situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the same thing. Which is the same thing. You're right. The 13. Same thing. White man charged, with something, he gets 2 years. Black man gets 20. Mm-hmm. Same crime. Same thing. No one should be doing it.
Right.
But there should be an equal reaction across the board.
And I agree with that.
That's my thing. If you disrespect police, in the proper responses, you get cracked upside the head, then everybody should get cracked upside the head.
Agreed.
That's just what it should be. So, going back to, again, tied to the original point there, I'm glad that LeBron said what he said, because he made a very valid point. No matter how much money you have, no matter your position, your station, it can still be very tough being a person of color in this country, because you're not afforded the same level of respect, unfortunately, across the board.
Yeah, speaking of respect for the minorities, let's go into the liberal hero late night show on HBO. What is the show called?
I don't know.
Is it Late Night with Bill Maher or something like that? The Late Show with Bill Maher?
I never know what his show was called.
Yeah. So, speaking of the N-word, popular HBO liberal late night host Bill Maher used the word in the past week, actually last Friday, so I'm sure he's going to have a big apology more.
Oh, he already tonight. His apology's already been out.
Yeah, but I think he's probably going to go into more depth on the show tonight. And while he is certainly in trouble, it's his guest's non-response, to be more specific, that is getting more criticism. So, during a segment on Real Time, that's what it is, on Friday, Ben Sass, Senator Sass, was invited Bill Maher to visit Nebraska to help work in the fields there. But Maher crossed a line when he jokingly declined Sass's invitation and invoked the N-word, saying he's a house N-word and doesn't work in the fields.
Dress up for Halloween. They don't do that in Nebraska?
It's frowned upon. Yeah, we don't do that quite as much. But
wow, got to get to Nebraska more.
You're welcome. We'd love to have you work in the fields with us.
Work in the field?
That's part of that. That's
Senator, I'm a house. No, it's a joke. Thank you.
That was Bill Maher on Late Night with Bill Maher. Real time. Yeah, sorry.
Nobody cares what the show's called.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. Sass is obviously uncomfortable with what Maher had just said and appeared to be in shock, but continued the segment without stopping to confront Maher over his use of the socially prohibited word. Sass's failure to immediately rebuke Maher is what many criticized him for. Some liberals, like MSNBC host Joy Reid and Simone Sanders, the former press secretary for Democratic presidential candidate Senator Bernie Sanders, Is that the Colonel's cousin?
Yeah, the Colonel's cousin.
Took the criticism a step further and seemingly rebuked Sass as if he had said the word. In a series of tweets, Reed said that Sass's immediate thoughts of Mahr using the N-word was how it will affect his future presidential aspirations. Let's stop there for a second. I do believe that I don't know how long Trump is going to last. 4 or 8 years. I don't know. I'm not going to make that prediction. If he keeps going the way he is, I think he will last 8 years. But let's say he doesn't. The next Republican that takes that office, I am. What is today's date?
Today is the 9th?
June 9th.
Yes.
I am making the prediction that Ben Sass is going to be the next Republican president.
He's the next candidate?
Yep. So that's just my prediction on that.
Because this is my first time hearing of the dude.
Really awesome guy. And I've been around him too, and he's a really awesome guy in person too.
I will start my response to this situation in this. One, Bill Maher's an idiot. So I've listened to his show I've watched his show and listened to him in the past in the spirit of, just learning, listening, seeing what the people's point of view are. I've agreed with him on probably 5 topics. I don't think, even though he's an idiot, I don't think he's not an intelligent person. Yep. And watching him on and off over the years, I know he said that deliberately. He's not the type of person to just, he says things with a flippant tone, but he seems to be very calculated and says things purposefully. So I believe he said that purposefully.
Okay, real quick before you go past that, because I want to talk about that specifically. He deliberately said,
yes.
Do you think he said it to offend, or that he thought there was an audience there that would take it as a joke, kind of like the Kathy Griffin thing? I think she thought that was going to be funny to people, and it just didn't turn out to be.
I can't imagine what's going on in her head.
Well, jump to Bill Maher.
I'm just ashamed. I used to think she was attractive, and not just because that's just being beforehand. It's like she lost her mind. But Maher has this thought in his head that he's down.
Yeah,
Maher has.
Wayne Brady has said some stuff about that.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he has a particular penchant for black women, and he has this thought in his head that. Because this is not a first offense for Bill Maher.
Nope.
Bill Maher likes to, use the term, and then not only just use the term, but he likes to use the term and reflect it upon himself, like he's down, like he's black. You're not black, Bill. You're not, and you're not helping yourself.
He's probably one of the whitest people I've ever
seen.
seen.
And you're not helping yourself. You're not helping us by trying to invoke that onto yourself. One, by putting yourself into a position, because I don't know how much do you know about the whole field versus house.
Oh yeah, well the house servants were, in charge of dinner and serving and serving at the pleasure of the person, while the people out in the field were actually doing the hardest labor and everything. And also there was some sleeping around, I think, or rape situations in the house.
Well, beyond just labor, yes, but beyond just labor, those who served in the house were always lighter skinned. Whether it was production of child or whatever, they were always lighter skinned. They obviously had it easier because they were lighter. So there is a lot of animosity that isn't within the black community when it comes to light skin versus dark skin. Still, colorism is a problem amongst all races, and including black people. Colorism is a huge problem because it's different from racism, but it's a huge problem.
Yeah.
White people have had colorism problem when it comes to the Irish and everyone else, and the Sicilians being darker than all the other Europeans. Colorism is a problem. We have it to very much to this day. I hear people give Steph Curry garbage because he's light skinned, and people
the eye color too, right?
Right, and people like, oh, this light skinned dude, you have white. He's not half white. He's just light skinned, and he can't help. Man can't help these light skinned. So you have that. So what Bill Maher does when he's using this term is putting himself into he's trying to act like he's down, but he's like, well, I'm down, but I'm one of the privileged ones. Because I serve in the house,
pushing another narrative.
I don't serve. I don't work in the fields, And the look he gave him, like, Senator, how dare you?
But I don't think you really answered my question. Do you think he is pushing this narrative like he's down in a very serious way, or do you think he was joking with that? I personally want to say he was joking about it, and it just fell flat completely.
Was it a joke? Yes. Is it a purposeful joke? Yes.
Okay, that's a different conversation.
It is a purposeful joke.
Yeah.
He, I'm sure he was waiting for an opportunity like that.
True.
Because that's just how he operates. I was glad to see a lot of black people, especially on the left, calling him out for it because, again, repeat offender. And I also do have a problem, not a huge problem. I did have a problem with the senator missing an opportunity to admonish Mahr for that.
We're going to get to that.
Okay.
We're going to get to that because I had a personal situation like that I could have really taken advantage of, but it was my first encounter with racism, and I'm going to get to that shortly.
Okay.
Okay, so Sanders, on the other hand, said that Sass's failure to immediately react harshly to Mahr was evidence of a larger issue in the Republican Party. Ben Sass on Real Time is a clear demonstration of the disregard GOP has for black people, one of many reasons they struggle with black voters, she tweeted. Sass said that while he is a staunch supporter of the First Amendment and believes comedians have the right to use socially prohibited words, he regrets not rebuking Mahr during the interview. Sass said that his obvious cringe wasn't enough.
I couldn't say he cringed. It looked like he just chuckled. He looked like he chuckled along.
No. You can see. I know his cringe from watching him all the time.
I don't know the cringe.
But in his tweets, he said, "But free speech comes with a responsibility to speak up when folks use that word. Me just cringing last night wasn't good enough. Here's what I wish I'd been quick enough to say in the moment. Hold up. Why would you think it's okay to use that word? The history of that word is an attack on universal human dignity. It's therefore an attack on the American creed. Don't use it." So here's what I'm going to stick.
So explain your similar situation.
Yeah, I don't know if I brought this up to you before, but
not
first of all, we've had our conversations where I told you flat out I didn't experience it in our high school, in our school system. That I didn't see.
You didn't witness it.
Yeah, and then I said I would have gladly and stuck up for you and the other family in the school. I won't mention names. Happily, everything. But I just didn't see it. It was obviously an undertone that I just didn't experience. But that being said, living out in the country here, you would think that this type of area was highly racist, being that far away from the city and everything. Just by stereotypical, backcountry hillbilly type stuff,
Right. When I first, when I told my friends at Central Catholic that I wasn't coming back there, and then I was going to be going out here, they were like, "Oh, you gonna die?" I think there was like the KKK out there. I looked at them, man, KKK's everywhere. Like they, come on, like don't even,
yeah.
Okay.
But. So what happened though was I honestly hadn't witnessed true racism until I was, 28 or so.
Okay.
So what happened was my wife and I were invited to a wedding down in Georgia, I believe it was.
Okay.
Or no, it was one of the Carolinas or something. We flew into Georgia, whatever happened.
Okay.
And we were out at the bar at the night before the wedding, and someone within the party, very important member of the party, my wife said to him, "Hey, I don't even know his name, to be honest, offhand. You and Chris, me, would really get along because he's a Republican too." Now, of course, I find the term Republican offensive. I go by conservative or constitutionalist or libertarian.
Right. Yeah, I'm more and more less using that word.
Yeah, seriously. And his response to that was very loudly and drunk at the bar in front of everyone. "Oh, so you hate ends too?" And I was like, my wife and I both stood there, just slack jaw, shocked, And I said, "Excuse me?" And he said, louder, the same damn thing again.
Because he thought you just didn't hear it.
Yeah. And I said, no. That was the only thing I could spit out at the time. And my wife said, the night's over. You go back to the hotel room because we're down here for my friend's wedding. We're just going to completely disconnect from this situation right now and just cut it off, you know? Mm-hmm. So we didn't want to further progress this down a road that we, you know.
Yeah.
So I went back to the hotel room and hung out by myself and watched TV for a while because, like, I somehow provoked it by apparently associating with the right. You know what I mean? And this guy is a nutcase. I'm sorry, but that's it was. But again, what happened was, I just was so shocked in the context. Here you have Ben Sass sitting on a big national television show. Mm-hmm. You're on camera. You are on a very liberal show. You're definitely not expecting a racial word to come out of a liberal host like that. Granted, you have heard it from him before, but let's just go with the fact that most people like us don't watch that show, okay, or want to have anything to do with Bill Maher, right? Okay. And this guy says that out of nowhere, kind of like me being out at the bar thinking we're out there having a good time, celebrating life, and two people getting married and everything, and all of a sudden he drops that very loudly and drunkly at the bar. Like, honestly, you hear that all the time, and you're used to that situation, but someone like me, that is coming out of left field and shocks the hell out of people, especially if they are not expecting. Like, okay, if I was outside of a barn where a KKK meeting was happening and I heard that word dropped, I shouldn't be surprised. But in the context of the situations here, I think
okay. One, the state you're in, I'm not surprised. Yeah, because as a northern, for those who don't realize, racism in the North is just a lot more covert. It's been that way for a very long time. You're rarely going to see it out in your face. It's generally going to be more covert. Down south, it's going to be a little more overt, not as much as it used to be, but a lot of people like to make it known that if you're welcome or not welcome, whether you're black, Asian, whatever, they're more willing to make it known that you're not welcome in their areas or their bars or their restaurants or whatever. Obviously, they can't legally bar you from being there, but they can make it very uncomfortable by saying things like that. Mm-hmm. They're more willing to make it known that you're not welcome. My response to you would be this. Yeah. You, my friend, are and obviously not saying this disrespectfully, but you are just a regular guy. Mm-hmm. Senator Sass is not a regular guy. So when you're going to go on a show and you are a public figure, and especially if you're a public figure with presidential aspirations, you need to be quicker because I have to agree for the quote that, and the fact that he missed a prime opportunity to establish himself and to assist his party in that, which they, as a party, don't seem to have much care for, which they haven't for a while. This is being highlighted, now more than before. But
wait, are you seriously saying that the Republicans don't care?
There has been a general dismissiveness of late of the past 12 odd years. There has been. There's been a general. You can't. But there's been a general dismissiveness, and
is it because though they don't specifically single out black issues or minority issues, let's say even Latino issues and everything like that? Because what I hear from the Republican side, especially conservatives and everything like Ted Cruz and all that, and the libertarians, is more the issues and policies as they apply to everybody. And by not bringing up specific races, then they're blamed for not taking issue with certain things.
I don't have issue when you're talking about general policy that impacts everybody. Because when I'm listening to someone who's supposed to be a public servant, you are serving the general public, which includes everybody. So in general policy, fine. I don't have a problem with that. But there are issues in the country that are specific, either whether it's impacting black people, or it's impacting women, or it's impacting Asians, or whatever, that should be addressed individually. And there is a lot of just dismissiveness of those issues and they just don't. They act like they don't exist.
Let me ask you this,
Okay.
and this is kind of out of left field because I just thought of this myself. I just got done watching.
Which is just tell you before you say that.
Yeah.
Which is why that video I showed you of that woman at CPAC, that was with what's his name, Heavy Set Brother. What's his name? It was a radio show.
Yeah. I have his contact information. We exchanged.
Yeah, that
contact
dude.
information.
I sometimes I
Sonny.
like
Are you talking about
not
Sonny?
Sonny.
Okay.
If I saw his face, I'd remember his name. But
No, I'm talking about the woman. Are you talking about
oh,
the
no,
black woman?
no, the woman. Okay, no, but the dude, I forget his name. But yeah, what she was saying is a lot of what I've been saying to you. Like, she said flat out, you act like these issues aren't here; they're here. When the left says this is a problem, you act like, oh, because the left said it, it's not real. It's real. And they have to stop doing that. And that's an example of SAS let a prime opportunity to dispel that or try to disprove it go right in front of them. And that's sad, because if you're going to go for president of the United States and you come from Nebraska,
He hasn't said anything about that,
but almost every senator has some aspiration for president.
Yeah.
So if you are, again, you're a leader in this country, and you obviously have some type of aspiration for a higher platform because you're going on you're going on national television. Mm-hmm. So you have some type of aspirations, clearly. Because you don't hear Senator Santorum on this show, or you know what I'm saying? You haven't heard Arlen Inspector on this show, have you? No, because those dudes really have no shot.
Well, Arlen Specter definitely, because he's dead.
I didn't know he died. Shows how much I cared about him. Lord, hey, Lord, you care about it.
First of all, number one, and just in case you didn't know this, I was actually in the room with Dupree. And,
that's Wayne Dupree.
Yeah, and Sonny Johnson, when she made that speech, I was there in the audience, and it was the most passionate speech of CPAC that she gave. I wouldn't say the best speech, but I certainly sat specifically. It's funny that you're bringing her up. I sat with her and Lawrence Jones of The Blaze on stage afterwards as those people were clearing out, and we just had a conversation. Apparently, Lawrence and her have known each other for a very long time. They're very good friends, even though he's at The Blaze and she's at Breitbart. Like, those are big competing, hate each other type things, but they're very close with each other. And I had the opportunity to sit there and talk with them for a little bit, and she was fantastic.
I was surprised to learn that she was at Breitbart, because a lot of their writers have been known to do exactly what she was saying.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So, so anyway.
My question to you is, it's just an interesting one that I thought about, and I wanted your opinion actually this week. I just finished watching the new season of House of Cards, which I'm a huge fan of.
Yes, you are.
And
sorry, not, but.
it got really crazy this season. It ended on a hell of a cliffhanger. But so within it, there was this big battle over the presidential race, and President Underwood was running against the Republican Conway, and Conway, as the Republican, went to the Black Caucus and tried to talk to them about things, and it was kind of like that stereotypical situation, like, he's trying to show that he cares as a Republican, so he starts talking about black issues, and they're like, we're not one-issue voters, Senator. And he's like, that's not what I'm trying to say. You people are trying to do this. And he's like, you people, that's exactly what they said. Yeah.
So if you ever talk to a group of black people and you're not black, do not say you people. Just a friendly hint.
So it was it was funny in the context that is exactly how
sounds like a well-written
scene. But so let me ask you, how do you feel about the Black Caucus as a group?
The Congressional Black Caucus?
Yeah.
Right now I feel very little about them. Because the Congressional Black Caucus right now is not what they used to be as far as a meeting in. I just feel bad because it's not the joint off. They do not represent the majority of us. Not the majority, but they just don't. They do not accurately represent us as all, because they, like a lot of groups right now, like to act like the black conservatives don't exist. Like, we're not there fighting for the same things as black liberals are when it comes to our civil rights and our equal protection of the law. They act like we don't exist, and that's a problem for me. So right now, I'm not going to disrespect them just because the other people may have their own position, whatever. But as far as their usefulness right now, I don't care. I haven't been leaning on them anyway as a source, or as a form of representation. So they might as well be clones of Messy Jesse and Al, and
Yeah.
I don't care.
So I think it's funny to say it this way, but I don't really see diversity there, right? In that it's all one mentality on how they vote and everything. And I agree with you. I would love to see some black conservatives.
There's a strong lack of diversity amongst the Congressional Black Caucus. Oh, yeah, strong.
And so what I wonder about that, though, is now if there was diversity in thought, right?
Right.
That would be really interesting to me to see how that plays out as a group. But seeing that they all think the same and it's a very liberal way of thinking, what purpose is there then other than to separate yourselves and show yourselves as just black members of that party? You know what I mean? I don't really get it.
Which is why I don't find them to be of much use right now.
Yeah.
Even if I agreed with them in their stances, I would say you're not of much use because you're not effectively representing Black America right now.
Mm-hmm.
And
I wish we could clone you.
I mean, it's just to me that's sad because there was a time where, as Black people, we looked beyond our particular political leanings for the good of Black people as a whole, and I hope that we can get back to that place and we can get to a place as a country. Well, I should get to a place as a country where we are focusing on that as improving as a whole beyond just a particular party, because we really need a simpler mindset if we are ever going to get out of the tailspin that we're in as a country.
I agree with you. Okay, so let's see here. And I talked about that. In the wake of Mahr's sin, many progressives and liberals are calling on HBO to remove Mahr from his show. They're saying his show needs to be canceled, wrote a reporter at The Root, a news and opinion
which
website.
I was pleasantly surprised that The Root called for him to go. The Root doesn't like him, but they're a very pro-black online magazine. They were one of the first to be like, get him out, be gone.
Do you agree with that?
I agree with it for the reason of consistency. If this was a conservative guy, his job would have been called for. He'd probably be fired.
Okay, let's take a step even further back. Mm-hmm. Should anyone, regardless of bias and hypocrisy and everything else, should anyone of any political leaning be pulled off of a show because of this one comment that he made?
I would. Well,
what would you like to see?
I would say one, because again, this is not a first offense.
True.
And if I'm HBO, I'm a private company, and I'm about my dollars. Mm-hmm. And HBO has been very fortunate to consistently do a decent draw amongst Black people, whether it was the Chris Rock show or even shows that
like Vice and stuff like that.
The Wire, which is the greatest television show ever. Truly, I think it's the greatest television show ever. Excellent show. And young Michael B. Jordan in that. Eat yourself, great show. They've had, however, for HBO, just when you talk about content, most of their content is not geared towards us as a people. It's outside The Wire. You think of their big shows, Game of Thrones, The Sopranos, Sex and the City.
Yeah, Game of Thrones really does spotlight
Boardwalk Empire.
Like blacks as the servants in that show.
Either hardly any. And a couple of times you see this, it was in Dorne. But here's the thing.
Nathalie Emmanuel in Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, she's gorgeous.
She better not die.
Besides that, yeah. And the brother plays Grey Worm, but he's also very light skinned. But again, more the color problem. The color
start
thing.
Up another war here.
Yeah, but the color. But again, the colorism thing. But for me, but for most of us, like we don't expect to see us in every show, unlike what certain groups will try to tell you, because a lot of us are sensitive.
Or even other groups want for their groups.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, one, we're content watching the show. There's certain, I've always said, there's certain shows and certain things that white folk do, and like let's say Jackass, for example, that you don't see black people on, and you'll see black people on for a reason, but we're content to watch and be like, go ahead, y'all do that. Y'all act a fool. We gonna stand here and just be here where we gonna be chilling. So there's times where we're like, okay, we don't want to be represented. Game of Thrones is a show we don't expect to be represented in, and we don't care because it's great entertainment. There are shows. Sopranos is a great show where we were not represented, but we watched it and enjoyed it. It was an excellent program.
Oh, where we were represented.
Yeah, exactly. And HBO has
not white people.
And HBO has had like the Chris Rock show and other shows, and HBO specials where it was stand up comedy and Def Comedy Jam and stuff like that, where we've had our fair share in certain ways, and they've had a good following and consistent following with black people. I know black people that wouldn't pay for extra anything except that they would pay for HBO. Mm-hmm. So if I'm HBO, I'm a business. I want to keep my business growing strong, and I want to keep my fan base from being a little too disgruntled. On a repeat offender, what did the late great Charlie Murphy say? He's an habitual line stepper, and sometimes when you have habitual line steppers, you gotta check them. It's time for Bill Maher to get checked. Now, Bill Maher will not be broke. Mm-hmm. Bill Maher will probably get a show somewhere else.
He'll probably start his own online show.
Or start his own online show.
Yeah.
And good for Bill Maher. But if I'm HBO, there's a plethora of talent out there that you can keep real time the show.
Well, one call liberals talent, but there's
there are some talented liberals. There's a plethora of talent out there you can replace him with, and have a better show. You know what? I got a great solution for him. Even though I don't like the guy, for HBO, I got a great solution. Get rid of Bill Maher. Even though I don't like the guy, just bring in Jon Stewart. Because people are still clamoring for him after leaving the Daily Show.
And he's wised up a little bit.
So bring Jon Stewart in, and that show would explode.
Yeah.
Explode.
And he wants to get back in.
He wants to get back in. He's been itching. Yeah. He wants to get back. Then that show will be 10 times better. I would probably watch more than the times I did with Mahr there. Mm-hmm. And especially if you keep a similar format.
Yeah. Well, I like what you said about if I was HBO, the way you put that, because my opinion on the matter is if this was his first offense, I would let it go.
I wouldn't let it go. I
would make us think about it, but I don't think he should be fired.
Everyone deserves a second chance, sometimes a third chance, but this is beyond that for Bill Maher.
But at the same time, what I was going to say is, my opinion doesn't mean squat. I leave it to HBO,
right?
And because it represents their company and everything, exactly. So I completely agree with you.
And I'm pretty positive HBO does not want that lingering over them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's move on. We're going to move out of all that stuff now.
Gotcha.
So federal contractor Reality Winner, that's her name. You do know that, right?
That's not like a handle?
No, that is her real name. Faces charges.
No, seriously. Her parents named her that?
Yeah.
Or did she change her name to that?
No, her name's Reality
Winner. Her
Winner.
parents hate her. I'm sorry.
But she goes by Sarah Winners.
That makes more sense. Yeah.
Twitter.
I'd have changed my real name. Forget
that. So she faces charges of mishandling classified information after she allegedly leaked top secret information from the NSA to an online news outlet. The news outlet is presumed to be The Intercept, which ran an article on Monday about how the Russians unsuccessfully attempted to manipulate the vote totals through hacking. Winner was arrested on Saturday and appeared in federal court on Monday. The Daily Wire listed 5 things that you need to know about Reality Winner. Number 1, Winner tweeted her solidarity with the Iranian regime. So, Javad Zarif tweeted out, "We will never use our weapons against anyone except in self-defense. Let us see if any of those who complain can make the same statement." So Sarah Winners, who is Reality Winner on Twitter, tweeted back in response to that, "There are many Americans protesting the U.S. government aggression towards Iran. If our tangerine-in-chief declares war, we stand with you." Number 2, Her social media accounts suggest that she's a crazy leftist, and this includes referring to Trump as a C-word, an orange fascist, standing with the Dakota pipeline protesters, and liking the Facebook pages for Senator Bernie Sanders and Media Matters. Number 3, Winner is an Air Force veteran. She served in the Air Force for 6 years, where she worked as a linguist who spoke Farsi, Pashto, I think is how you say it, and Dari.
Okay, I think it's Dari.
Dari,
I
okay.
think it's Dari.
Number 4, Winner worked for Pluribus International Corporation as a federal contractor to the NSA, which is how she received a security clearance. She also worked as a yoga instructor in Georgia at the time.
In Georgia, like the country or the state?
State.
They do yoga in Georgia? I'm surprised to hear that.
You've heard of those hot
Wow,
rooms?
I guess anything is
hot
possible.
yoga, yeah.
It's hot yoga down in Georgia. Oh, they will come down to Georgia. Wow. Okay.
So, last point being that she
that just
faces...
doesn't fit with all the biscuits and gravy and all that. Oh, well, whatever.
Well, they better be doing some yoga after that. Winner also faces up to 10 years in prison for leaking this classified information. So...
Guess reality bites, huh?
Yeah, reality is not a winner; she's a loser, as I said before in the beginning. But one thing, what else did I learn about her today? She actually wanted to leave and pronounce allegiance with, like, the Taliban, I think, or something. Like, more information is coming out on her every day. Oh, here's what she said. There was something written where she had made a proclamation that she intended to light the White House on fire. Now, mind you, that's outrageous statements and whatever, you know. But she intended to light the White House on fire and escape and become basically a U.S. refugee and go to a Middle Eastern country and pledge allegiance to the Taliban or ISIS or something like that. So, yeah, this is a bat crap crazy type person had access to NSA information, you know? But that being said, this directly feeds into our big topic for the night, which is James Comey. Okay. And, you know, it came out in his testimony that he was leaking information as well. Well, if she faces 10 years in prison, we might be talking about some time for James Comey as well. I think that's something that needs to be considered with what's going on.
Now, I mean, I'm sure his admittance is going to soften the blow a bit for him, but when you leak, you leaked.
Yep.
And, I mean, I'm sorry, leaking information is tantamount to treason, at least in my eyes, so that is something that should be taken seriously. You know, the AG will probably threaten to throw him under the jail. He'll plea, he'll get something for additional cooperation. I doubt, honestly, that Comey will see much time. I'm sure he'll get a sentence and it'll be, you know, parole after 5 years or something like that. Sadly, people in that position tend to not actually see real jail time or real punishment.
Could he be? Well, we'll get to all that with it.
But you know, I'm not surprised. I mean, I wasn't surprised to hear some of the things as far as reflecting after, you know, his testimony, because I was, you know, I work with a lot of you know, liberal people who, or not even just liberal, just people who are not fans of Trump like we are. And so I was expecting to hear them, you know, like shouting, high fiving, and like yeah, and it was, you know, amazingly quiet. So I saw some things, you know, what came out of, you know, of Comey's his testimony, and I was like, huh, yep, okay, a lot of nothing. A lot of, yeah, that's not much. Yeah, that's just still suspicion. And you know what? Especially with the whole Russian thing. I'm sick and tired of hearing about the whole Russian thing. And here's why.
Well, wait, we're going to get into Comey. We're still on the reality winner. But we're going to get to her because we have one more topic in between then, and we're going to really discuss that. Because he's the main topic.
Well, her thing and my thing, I mean, she's
treasonous.
She's a treasonous blip on the radar.
Yep.
You know, she's not that newsworthy. It's sad to me that you can have your ideals and they can be against mine, fine. But when you want to leak things and you want to jeopardize everyone security by leaking sensitive information, classified information, you're no longer acting in the best interest of the country. You're acting in your own diluted self-interest or whatever those may be. You're not acting in everyone's best interest.
Okay. So if you're just tuning in, this is a Generation Y Conservative podcast. I am your host, Chris. This is my guest, Matt. So you can follow me on social media by searching for the Generation Y Conservative on both Facebook and YouTube. You can subscribe on YouTube. Hit that little bell on YouTube, just so you know. And that way you'll be notified when any videos get published, whether they are the podcast, individual clips from a podcast of interesting topics, or now we've been doing the movie reviews as well, and those have been pretty popular on the channel too. On the Facebook page, go under following, hit that get notifications, and you'll be notified on Thursdays or Fridays whenever we go live with the podcast to know when to tune in, because it's a nice little behind-the-scenes thing for the final version, which is aired on Sundays on KLRN Internet Radio from 3 to 6 p.m. And you can also find the audio versions of this podcast on Google Play, Stitcher, and iTunes as well. While we're on that topic, you can also find Matt's page, Geek Nation, which combines sports enthusiasts and the geek community, whether it's video games or anime or movies and everything else. You can find him on Geek Nation. You can search that on Facebook and YouTube as well. I would encourage you to go to that. And we also mentioned earlier, too, just as a little shout-out, because he is trying to get this Kickstarter campaign going really hard, and I think it's a great cause. I think it's a great brand, and I think it's great clothing that I'm seeing coming out of it. You want to look for In His Image on Facebook as well, and search for that on Kickstarter as well, because they're trying to get that moving with a brand of clothing that glorifies Christ. So, especially in your life and everything. So that has some revenue that goes towards charities as well. So I think that's important to throw out there.
10%.
So Matt, before we get back into the topics here, I happened to notice a glaring hypocrisy this week.
Really?
Sorry about that. That was a bug that we get attacked pretty often down here in the bunker. That I've recognized for a long time now.
Okay.
But over the course of the last couple of weeks, I've seen these liberals, coming out and making these points that are really conflicting to me, right?
Okay.
So, in the wake of the Manchester attack, the London Bridge attack, and everything, I see a lot of liberal friends and especially liberal celebrities and politicians that say that the only way to defeat radical Islam, or I'm sorry, terrorism, because they won't identify it as radical Islam,
Right.
is to love them, show them love, right? And yet, anytime I see those same people talking about Trump, the word hate is used, right?
Yeah.
So, if we could,
and also death threats and pictures of bloody heads and all types of interesting things.
Well, if we look at it,
averages where they're beating him with bats and
stuff
like that.
Yeah. So you watched the podcast, huh?
No, I got into a very heated engagement with some people who, and obviously I had to educate them that while what they are seeing that's happening to images of President Trump are terrible, the very same thing was happening to images of President Obama, and I didn't hear them saying a single thing about it.
Yep.
And that's a problem. It should not be happening. And I said to them, I don't like President Trump. I don't like President Obama. However, I will give them the respect as human beings. Yeah. And as the president, neither one should have their images burned or beaten with bats or held bloody. That's completely. I don't care what level of station they're like, oh, that person's a celebrity, so it's worse. No, it's not. You should have some respect. That shouldn't be happening. Yeah. Period. Yep. And I mean, there's a lot of hypocrisy with that, and I've called it out myself just because it's like you don't have to like the guy, but you know what? If you're better, and they keep on quoting Mrs. Obama. I said, they go low, we go high. And I'm like, I'm not seeing a whole lot of y'all going high right now.
I really see a lot that seem to be getting high.
And I have to say, even though I haven't been paying that much attention to President Obama post his end of his term, but from what I have seen of him, he's refused to comment in depth. He's taken a very, from the very few things I've seen, he's taken a very middle of the roads, like, hey, this isn't productive, I don't want to talk about it stance.
Not in regards to the Paris Accord, which he was an architect of.
Oh well, yeah, and he's touched someone's baby. They're gonna struggle. I've been taking that much attention to him, but from the few things I've seen, he's been very, if it's not productive, let's not talk about it. Which I respect, because that should be what allows. If it's not productive, it's not anything. Why?
I think something's brewing. Him and Valerie Jarrett are still working very closely together.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. But here's my point. So the first statement is looking at this global issue of terrorism, right? And they feel that they can very easily solve a global issue by using love. But they can't even start with that type of circumstance here at home in one country by showing love and trying to change the circumstance of one person. In Trump.
I'll do even better. Let's take out Trump completely out of the equation. Let's keep the equation completely on these particular people.
Okay.
They are also the people who will say when a Muslim attack, an attack perpetrated by Muslims, because they're not all, obviously not all terrorism is by Muslims, but when a terrorist attack that's perpetrated by a Muslim happens, they are the first to say, well, there's terrorism here with, there's, white nationalists and racists do this and this terrorism and this and this, that's terrorism. And yes, by definition, that's terrorism. You're correct. But I don't see you taking the same stance to fix that terrorism as you are trying to take with terrorism has to be perpetrated by Muslims. So you're the ones who's saying, okay, well, all we gotta do is love. So I don't see you trying to hug these white nationalists who are who are shooting up churches or whatever happens to be, where they're burning buildings, whatever it is. I don't see that happening. But when someone who happens to be of the faith of Islam and commits a terrorist attack, they're not a true Muslim, or they're not this, or no, this is a random occurrence. It's not a random occurrence, just like the KKK is not a random occurrence, just like a white nationalist burning a black church is not a random occurrence. If your definition of love is going to fix everything, you need to apply it to everything, and that's not the case.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because there is a liberal politician, the Colonel's cousin, as you put it, who happens to believe that sticks up. I've seen before sticking up for the Muslim faith, but also apparently has a problem with the Christian faith.
Well, he's also Jewish.
So let's take a look. This is a little bit longer of a video than what we've been seeing. Maybe not as long as the trailer. But this is Senator Bernie Sanders in a congressional hearing of the appointment of one of Trump's new appointees. And he is taking to task this guy with his Christian faith and basically putting a litmus test to it. So let's take a look at Bernie Sanders.
Okay.
And that is in the piece that I referred to that you wrote for a publication called Resurgent. You wrote, Muslims do not simply have a deficient theology. They do not know God because they have rejected Jesus Christ, his son, and they stand condemned. End of quote. Do you believe that statement is Islamophobic?
Absolutely not, Senator. I'm a Christian, and I believe in a Christian set of principles based on my faith. That post, as I stated in the questionnaire to this committee, was to defend my alma mater, Wheaton College, a Christian school that has a statement of faith that includes the centrality of Jesus Christ for salvation. And
again, I apologize. Forgive me. We just don't have a lot of time. Do you believe that people in the Muslim religion stand condemned? Is that your view?
Again, Senator, I'm a Christian, and I wrote that piece.
Well, what does that say?
The statement of faith of Wheaton
I understand that. I don't know how many Muslims there are in America. I really don't know. Probably a couple of million. Are you suggesting that all of those people stand condemned? What about Jews? They stand condemned too?
Senator, I'm a Christian.
I understand you are a Christian, but this country is made up of people who are not just. I understand. that Christianity is the majority religion. But there are other people who have different religions in this country and around the world. In your judgment, do you think that people who are not Christians are going to be condemned?
Thank you for probing on that question. As a Christian, I believe that all individuals are made in the image of God and are worthy of dignity and respect regardless of their religious beliefs. I believe that as a Christian, that's how I should treat all individuals.
And do you think your statement that you put into that publication, they do not know God because they've rejected Jesus Christ the Son and they stand condemned, do you think that's respectful of other religions?
Senator, I wrote a post based on being a Christian and attending a Christian school that has a statement of faith that speaks clearly with regard to the centrality of Jesus Christ in salvation.
I would simply say, Mr. Chairman, that this nominee is really not someone who is what this country is supposed to be about. I will vote no. Senator Gardner.
Can't say I'm surprised on how he...
No, but Bernie was a dick.
Well,
sorry, that's what happened there.
Well,
what you may say is that...
Here's the problem. Bernie Sanders knew exactly what he was asking him.
Yep.
Bernie Sanders knows the tenets of Christianity enough to know that when he was asking the question, the way he was asking it was not in the tenets of salvation on a spiritual aspect, which is what the condemnation is referring to. He is referring to it as a physical and this realm standpoint. He was trying to drive that point home and trying to make this nominee admit to something that he could, be looked upon on as, Islamophobic, whatever words they want to make up now. I think this guy handled himself very well.
Yeah.
And he didn't say anything that I love the way he rephrased it. He said, "Look, I'm a Christian. This is what I believe. I believe how everyone should be treated, and I'm gonna, I would do that as such." And he didn't fall for the admission that Bernie was trying to get out of him. To admit that
non-Christians are going to burn in hell, basically.
Right. Which again, that's to the tenets. That is what will happen. And then, some people. The problem is some people can't say that tactfully.
Right.
Some people, I had a friend who, when I was working for T-Mobile, we had a young lady who was homosexual, and this girl was particularly needling my coworker, who was a very outspoken Christian. Country girl with very little tact. Military girl, just straight.
A Christian.
Yes, very straight shooter. And this girl already knew where she stood, but she kept kneeling her to ask, "What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think?" Until my friend was like, "It's an abomination. You're going to burn in hell." So I just said, "Listen, Tammy. One, you can't say that at work. You should know better than that. You need to learn. You can't just do that. They said, and I said to the girl, I said, "Look, one, you already knew where she stood. You were seeking it out. You were kneeling her to try to get a response."
Yeah.
And I said, I have the same beliefs.
Did she try to go to a superior about that and cause trouble?
She did. And I said to my superior, I talked to her about it. I said, she asked me because I was there for it, and I said, this person already knew. She needled her purposefully, and I said, I said, I agree, Tammy. I said the person's response was not tactful, but this one was asking for it. She didn't go and offer her opinion. Say, "Hey, you're what you're doing is an abomination. You're going to burn in hell." Like that. That's not the case. And you know what? Hey, surprise! If you don't know, there are other faiths that say the exact same thing about us as Christians, and people who are Buddhists, and the other faiths that say the Buddhists are going to burn or be tormented, and Christians too. Like that's not an exclusive thing to Christianity.
Well, let's focus solely on what was talked about in this video, which is he started this whole conversation with Senator Sanders on talking about the Muslim faith, and he's going off on that, saying, using that as the comparison and everything. Well, if you really want to be honest in comparison, like in the Muslim faith, infidels should die, and they believe that the spilling of infidel blood will bring about their profit.
Yes, if you read the Quran, there's no, and yes, there's a lot of moderate Muslims out there, but if you read the Quran, and if you're a person who reads a faith and you read your word or scriptures or whatever, and you take them seriously, or I should say you take them to, maybe I should say literally, because there are people who are Christians who don't take the Bible literally. You call themselves Christians to the Bible. So if you there are Muslims who read the Quran and don't take it literally. There are a lot that do. And if you read what the Quran says, and it's not even a problem with English translation like people with the Bible have, because we've got direct translations here. There's no dead languages going on here. The Quran clearly says, as you know, about killing infidels and a lot of things. When we talked about during the Geek one, where the Islamic artists with the anti-Jew and anti-Christian messages in the X-Men comic there. So it's not new. Yes, the example like, you're against Islam. Islam is, as a faith, is not the friend of the Christian faith. Those faiths are not going to coincide, and the basic tenets of them are not going to coincide as far as when it comes to salvation and but nowhere does it say, and as that nominees so put, nowhere does it say to mistreat people. It's simply saying on a spiritual side, that's on the spiritual side. Now, I don't know if it was wise or unwise for him to not state that or talk. And he kept on repeating it because I went to Christian school, and just say on a spiritual portion, what happens after we die, whatever, and not necessarily a right now while we're on this earth type thing. I don't know if he should have or could have gone there.
I think one thing to point out here is, I think you were touching upon it very lightly, is that in regards to Christianity, he said very, very well at one point after the third time of repeating himself, listen, yes, this is what the Christian faith says, but that does not mean we treat each other with respect and dignity and everything else. But again, when you actually look at that statement and you look at the comparison of what Bernie is saying in regards to the Muslim faith and the Christian faith, a Christian does not take the statements of faith like that and act upon them and do something to bring about that, right? Whereas the Muslim faith is, they believe, the ones that take it literal, that you should be killing people that are non-believers. Right. So if this guy was a Muslim sitting there, we don't even need to have this hypothetical conversation. We know the way it would have unfolded. We know. There would have been no conversation about his faith at all.
No.
With Bernie Sanders.
No.
Bernie Sanders is a dried up, crusty, old.
Okay, hey, come on, just have.
No.
He's. We don't have to just respectfully.
He's a dried up old piece of Kentucky Fried Chicken that's been left out for way too long. But the Sanders is cousin.
Senator Sanders has his stances, and I disagree vehemently with the majority of them.
Let me say this real quick. I thought throughout the campaign that Sanders came off as a nice guy. Even though I completely disagreed with him, he came off as a real jerk in this video.
I didn't buy the whole nice guy routine because I've seen him do this before. Not this exactly, but I've seen him put his indignation out before. So I wasn't buying the nice guy routine. Just like I wasn't buying, Hillary's routine, which is just tired.
Well, that's a poor act.
Yeah,
because she can't even pacify it ever.
Yeah, I know. I mean, but I wasn't buying that. There's
we can move on.
Yeah, there's a thought process that people are like, Christians did this in the past and did that, and that's true. There's a lot of sects of Christianity even today that do things that are wrong. But if you go through the Bible, you can see that a lot of those things that they do are not there. Mm-hmm. So I mean, they may want to base some things like the KK, for example. That is the what? The KKK.
Okay.
The KKK is an example of a sect who uses Christianity as a base but a lot of their beliefs and their tenets and what they do, you're not going to find in there. The stark contrast to a lot of these attacks when it comes to the terrorism talk is that you do have those things directly in the Quran.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so our main topic for tonight, obviously the big news this week was yesterday fired FBI Director James Comey testified in front of Congress on Thursday in regards to Michael Flynn and the Russia investigation as it pertains to the Trump administration. The Daily Wire actually put out some great details and felt that there were big takeaways from the testimony, including, number one, Comey said that the former Attorney General Loretta Lynch attempted to influence Hillary Clinton's email investigation. Comey said, and this is a quote, "At one point, the Attorney General Lynch told me not to call it an investigation, but instead to call it a matter, which confused and concerned me." That's what the James Comey said in the committee on Thursday. "But that was one of the bricks in the load that led me to conclude I have to step away from the Justice Department if we're to close this case credibly." So here he's, the liberals are saying, just salivating at the opportunity for this guy to come out against Trump. Instead, he comes out with more details on the Hillary Clinton investigation. Comey also basically admitted that not only is Trump not under investigation, he didn't obstruct justice. Rubio asked Comey, "So he was asking you to do what you have done here today?" Comey admitted that this was true, but he was reluctant to make the announcement as FBI director in case he had to make a subsequent statement that Trump was under investigation. Comey also admitted during the hearing that Trump never asked him to drop the Russia investigation. So all these things that they were waiting for just started crumbling apart when Rubio started talking to him. Rubio also exposed the fact that leaks during the Russia investigation have been designed to hurt Trump. "This investigation is full of leaks left and right. We've learned more from the newspapers sometimes than we do from our open hearings, for sure," Rubio said. "You ever wonder why, of all the things in this investigation, the only thing that's never been leaked is the fact that the president was not personally under investigation, despite the fact that both Democrats and Republicans in the leadership of Congress knew that and have known that for weeks?" Comey responded, "I don't know. I find matters that are briefed to the Gang of Eight are pretty tightly held in my experience." So a couple things wrapped up in this, okay? The people in Congress knew that Trump wasn't under investigation, but continued to allow the media, the media's narrative and public narrative to continue that Trump was under investigation for Russian ties and everything else. And they knew about it in Congress. This wasn't
This isn't a surprise.
Yeah, this wasn't a surprise. And on top of that, this further points to, number one, trying to push a false narrative out there, but also the fact that I keep on coming back to in my podcast, which is the Republicans don't want Trump there as much as the Democrats don't, because they don't want people to get this feeling that they don't have to go through the process and pay your dues as a senator or member of Congress to get to the White House level, that you could just skip that process. They are deeply offended by that.
Right.
Anything on those at all before?
Well, to my friends in Mahr show, we apologize. No, but on a serious thing, I almost wish the Russian thing was true, and I'll tell you why. How many coups did we perform in other countries? How many elections have we rigged in other countries? The biggest thing with Russia, honestly, is not that one side, tried to use outside influences to win. It's the fact that the player hates to get played, and the thing that would irritate both sides is having us be the one having this being the marionette whose strings are getting pulled, and not the puppet master.
You want that to happen in America?
I'm not saying I want it to happen. It would just, as a wake up call, say, you know what? Maybe we should stop pulling strings.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think you're with me on a very libertarian stance of get out of other countries'
because
businesses.
You don't think it's not going to come back to hurt us?
Yep.
You think someone's not going to be trying to pull our strings? Like, come on. It would be, again, not that would be helpful for our country, but a wake up call like that, like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be throwing coups.
Yeah.
Maybe, things like Fast and Furious and stuff like that. Maybe we shouldn't be giving guns to these people. It's just food for thought.
I hear you. Yeah. Okay, so number 4, Comey admitted that he leaked the information in his memo in order to push for a special counsel. The president tweeted on Friday after I got fired that I better hope there's no tapes. I woke up in the middle of the night on Monday night because it didn't dawn on me originally that there might be corroboration for our conversation. There might be a tape. My judgment was I need to get that out into the public square. I asked a friend of mine to share the content of the memo with a reporter. Didn't do it myself for a variety of reasons. I asked him to because I thought that might prompt the appointment of a special counsel. But as I mentioned before, it kind of presents this problem where we were talking about Reality Winner earlier, getting 10 years in prison for leaking information.
Right.
And I was going to bring this up with you. I was trying to hold our conversations on Comey off until now. But you talked about if he does get time, it's not going to be much time at all, if any time at all.
Right.
Is there a possibility here, and this is what I think, that this goes forward, he does get time, but Trump pardons him?
I mean, I guess there's a possibility.
Because I think that there might be more information out there on other stuff that he doesn't want coming forward, and a pardon would get him out of that situation.
Well, see, that's
tie up loose ends here.
That's why I don't see anything happening, because when you're in a position where you know things, again, what does Littlefinger tell Cersei? Knowledge is power.
Yeah, I have little birdies everywhere.
Yes. Well, that's Varys. But yes, Varys' little birds sing songs to him, and Littlefinger's spies are everywhere. I mean, and knowledge is power. I mean, as Christians, the Bible tells us that people suffer for lack of knowledge. We need to know things. So when you know things, sadly, you get out of a lot of things. And that's why I don't see Comey seeing a day in actual federal prison. I mean, he may see some holding cell time. I don't see it because he knows too much.
Yeah.
And to even be in long enough to get pardoned, I just don't see that happening, because I'm sure he's got plenty of dirt on everybody. He's
Those
the
are
FBI.
all the bodies are buried.
He's got
literally.
I mean, because unlike the CIA, his job is to investigate what's going on in this country. So he knows a whole lot of things that everyone around the world is salivating to know. So I don't see anything happening to him except for an extended isolation vacation in some home, some very big home somewhere.
One of the most fascinating things about Comey is the fact that both parties loved and hated him at different times, right? I mean, when he was after Hillary, the right loved him, the left hated him. As soon as he started going after Trump, the tides turned, and the right hated him, and the left loved him. But it's been this back and forth.
Now he's got no friends.
But they keep on saying that he doesn't have integrity, that he's a backstabber. He's gotten to where he is because he's a backstabber and is, doing things out of political expediency to keep his job and everything like that. But to me, this is like him doing his job.
But the guy is the director of the FBI, and even though we don't generally call them that, we refer the term spies to the CIA. He's an NSA, NSA, but he's an investigator. Yeah. That's his job. That's his job. Like his job as loyalty goes is supposed to be where the jobs of any public servant is supposed to be to the American people, not to party A or party B.
Yeah.
So his job is to go after anyone doing wrong, which, unfortunately, is people on both sides. So his job is to look into Hillary. His job is to look into President Trump. Not just, his job is to look into Attorney General Lynch or if Rubio's doing something wild or whoever. That's his job.
Well, Rubio's wild.
He's wild. You never know,
So
he
President
Tony Montana. I don't know.
President Trump had a press conference today with the president of I want to say Romania. Not sure. In the Rose Garden, and of course
don't they use a prime minister? No, I'm just joking.
Oh my god!
Sorry, our church joke. We're using a king prime minister. Sorry.
they held it in the Rose Garden, and of course, questions, instead of being related to their meeting, went more than half to the Comey testimony and everything.
Of course.
One of the interesting things that came up, and I want to lay some context out. I think that Sean Hannity, is a great guy. Met him in person. Seen him interact with people. He is like one of the most personable people I know. But I just can't stand him. Listening to him anymore with his whole Trump thing. Like, I think he did play a big part in Trump getting elected. But, for years now I've listened to Hannity and every other conservative host talk about how the media is in bed and getting people elected. But then you turn around and do the same thing for that guy.
It's exactly what you do. Yeah.
But so one of the things that was brought up in this press conference today was the fact that Trump was asked, do tapes actually exist of your conversations with Comey? And Trump said, you're going to find out about that very shortly. And they said, so when are we going to find out about it? And he said, very shortly. You're going to find out about it very shortly. You're going to be very disappointed. Now,
I think I remember hearing that.
Yeah, so all of Hannity's crew I was listening to today, because I was on a 4-hour trip from D.C.
Right.
By the way, I got to hang out at Hillsdale College's broadcast booth.
Yeah.
Got to be right across from the Heritage Foundation. Got to see Kellyanne Conway in an interview, as well as the Jordanian ambassador, the German ambassador, and one other ambassador. It was really cool. They're all really great. And Kellyanne Conway ripped apart the co-founder of Axios.
Okay.
He was horrible. I can't believe he's a co-founder, so I guess that's how he got the position to interview her. But he was just a horrible human being. Anyway, so I had a 4-hour drive back. I put on Hannity to listen to. They all seem to think, is Trump playing this card where he doesn't actually have audio, and it's going to come out that he was kind of tugging strings and pulling people along this whole time? That's what they think. Here's what I think. I read it as, you're going to be very disappointed. The media is going to be disappointed because they don't want tapes to corroborate with his statements that nothing was ever said. That's how I'm reading it. I think that there are tapes. And I'm going to be surprised if there aren't.
Anyone in D.C., if you're having a conversation on the street about a hot dog, you should probably be recording it.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Whether there are or not. Well, actually, I would. There probably are no tapes. Okay, it's probably an MP3. So let's just keep it actual. It's probably an MP3. There are no tapes. It's somewhere in someone's Dropbox right now. So there's no tape. You go look for a tape. You're not gonna find it. Someone's MP3. Probably recorded on an iPhone. Somewhere, or a nice little bugging device. Trump is not a stupid person. A lot of major contracts, as he's a businessman, especially in real estate, a lot of major contract signings are always done with audio and video recording.
And he's an old school businessman.
An old school businessman.
So that's like the handshake agreement stuff, right?
Exactly. So that is not outside the very strong realm of possibility that there is some audio recording somewhere. With his conversations with Comey. Probably multiple versions are out there because you never know, only have one copy.
Yeah.
I don't know how much will actually come of it, obviously in light of his testimony, but is it very possible that he has that, maybe we wouldn't call it an ace, but he has that, pocket king or pocket queen sitting there, yeah. That's a very strong possibility.
Yep. Comey also confirmed that a New York Times report claiming that members of Trump's campaign team were in contact with the Russians was false. That was one of the biggest bombshells. So, and here's why. He actually gets into it here. I think I have his statement exactly. So, first, Senator James Risch asked Comey about the February report, asking if it was a fair statement to say that the story was not true. In the main, it was not true, Comey replied. The challenge, and I'm not picking on reporters about writing on classified information, is the people talking about it often don't really know what's going on, and those of us who actually know what's going on are not going to talk about it. He added, And we don't call the press to say, hey, you got that thing wrong about this sensitive topic. We just have to leave it there. Senator Tom Cotton later returned to the Times story asking Comey if the report was almost entirely wrong. The former FBI director answered in the affirmative. So, this is common sense stuff.
Yeah.
Just because I think what the press tries to do sometimes is try to throw mud at the wall, see what sticks, and hope that they come out and either corroborate with what's being said or say, no, that's wrong, this is actually how it happened. But they never are going to do that because it's classified information.
Yeah. And to do that is paramount to just idiocy.
Yeah. Well, here you have it. The New York Times report that had a lot of people going on this whole Russia collusion thing and everything is saying, no, that's not true at all. So they had it completely wrong. By the way, while I was walking around in D.C. this week, I passed by the Union Pub. Okay. And the Union Pub was among many bars yesterday that opened extremely early and offered viewing parties of the testimony of James Comey.
Yes, I heard about the viewing
parties. And apparently a lot of people it was a very downtrodden occasion as people were watching and not getting what they wanted. And as a matter of fact, in the Union Pub, they offered a free round of drinks every time the president live tweeted during the testimony, and he didn't live tweet at all. Of all the things I complain about is him and his tweeting.
I know,
he didn't do it at all. It was fantastic. It was a letdown all around.
The president of tweeting didn't tweet. This is amazing.
It was fantastic. So all these pictures, if you just type in James Comey testimony bar viewing party and you Google search it and click on images, it's just the most depressed group of liberals out at the bar you've ever seen. And they all had to pay for their own drinks, which is even harder.
My thing is like this. If you have time to leave on a Thursday morning to leave work, or don't even have to go to work, to go to a bar, drink at 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning, whatever time the testimony was, and watch a testimony that you can just watch on C-SPAN or whatever. If you got that type of time, your life ain't that hard, bro. You've got. There's so many other things that could use your attention that would impact the world in a much greater way.
Yeah, but you know what? That right there spotlights this mentality among the left that they want to celebrate the destruction of an individual together as a group.
Yeah, which is just... Yeah.
Am I wrong on that?
No, you're definitely not wrong on that. You're not, unfortunately, we've seen over the last, I'll throw the second term of President Bush in there, where you just have both parties the flip-flopping of they just want to see destruction of whoever is in power. It was Bush, and then it was Obama, and all the blame was put on Obama, even though we can't blame him for everything. And now it's shifted to Trump, and it's more aggressive, and it's grown in its aggressiveness every 4 years. The pendulum keeps swinging more and more. People get more and more incredulous. People get more and more disrespectful, and it's going to a point where it's almost at a fever pitch. And you sitting there at a viewing party makes no difference whatsoever on this grand scheme of things. I'm sure your job, your business, your wife, your kids, your boyfriend, girlfriend, your pet goldfish, spending time with them would have been more fruitful.
Or that computer for a resume.
Oh yeah, or a computer. Spending that time would have been more fruitful than going to a viewing party for someone's congressional hearing. I thought steroids in baseball was a great waste of time, and the biggest waste of time ever in congressional hearing history. When you got people going to viewing parties, come on.
We're going to wrap up the last few points here because we are extending into the third hour here. James Comey also went after the media for fake news in exchange between him and Senator Lankford. Lankford said, have there been news accounts about the Russia investigation, about collusion, about this whole event, or accusations? As you read the story, you were stunned about how wrong they got the facts. Comey said, yes. there have been many stories reported based on classified information about lots of stuff, but especially about Russia, that are just dead wrong. So he is basically saying fake news.
So fake news is not a new thing.
No, it's not.
Like, everybody's acting like Trump invented this fake news term. He ain't invented nothing.
Yeah.
Fake news is not new. Like, stop acting like this is a new phenomenon.
Trump didn't try to kill the Russian investigation. In fact, he even asked Comey to look into associations between campaign satellites and the Russian government. Comey was asked directly whether Trump asked him to stop the Russian investigation, and he said no.
Didn't get any clearer than that.
Yep. President Trump acted improperly. Okay, so here's some of the fodder that goes to the left. Okay. President Trump acted improperly, and Comey found it troubling. Comey testified repeatedly that Trump edged around quid pro quo language more than once.
That's not surprising either.
Yeah, at their January 27th meeting, Comey stated that Trump asked him for a loyalty oath, and then at their February 14th meeting, instead of meeting...
A loyalty oath? What is he, King Joffrey? The many people, pledge fealty?
Trump said he hoped Comey could find a way to drop the investigation into former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's Russian phone calls. Comey also testified that President Trump told him in April that he remembered the thing. An easy way to interpret this would be as quid pro quo. Now, I want to talk about this just real quick, and then we'll finish up with the last 2 points. Okay. I want to roll through this because we are going over time here.
Gotta feel the radio.
Yeah, I know. This might be one of the only ones we actually hit. So when Trump, this has been a big thing for quite a while until the testimony yesterday, and I still think that the leftist media is arguing over it. When he said that Trump said he hoped he could find a way to drop this investigation, that's a difference in inflection, I believe, in your voice, right? So listen, if you're Comey and I'm Trump, right? Okay. Now, not that he would say it as eloquently as I would,
of course.
But if I said to you, James, I hope that there's a way that we can drop this investigation into Flynn, right? That's an inflection that you better get this thing over with and done with, right? Or if I said to you, James, I really hope that there's a way we can drop this investigation into Flynn, That's like, I hope we can wrap this up and tie loose ends and just move on from this freaking crap, right. Wherever the outcome is.
Exactly.
There's 2 ways of reading that inflection, and I don't know what was said. No one really knows what is said.
Unless there are MP3s out there.
Yeah, and in that way, that's a matter of inflection. So I'm not going to assume either way on that one.
Right.
But using a word hope in that manner is something that you need to take in consideration.
Right,
with inflection.
Because the inflection and the tone makes all the difference in the world when it comes to how you make that sentence, how you make that statement. Oh, you almost got it.
I was a ninja.
That was close.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Trump's actions may earn him an investigation for obstruction. Comey said he believed that Special Counsel Robert Mueller would look into potential obstruction of justice against Trump as part of Russia's probe. Comey added, I don't think it's for me to say whether the conversation I had with the president was an effort to obstruct. So it's kind of back and forth on that. He's saying it wasn't really obstructing, but it might be looked at.
What he's essentially saying is this: if there's an investigation and if it goes to trial, I'm going to go on the stand and say this.
Yeah.
And it's going to result in nothing.
Yep.
So you probably shouldn't bother because you've already gotten my testimony.
Yeah.
It's vague. You can't prove anything by that unless there are actual records. It would be for naught.
Yep. Okay, last point, number 9. Trump probably fired Comey out of personal pique. The story seems to be that Trump wanted Comey to publicly clear him, given that Comey was privately telling him he wasn't under investigation. In fact, in May, Senators Dianne Feinstein of California and Charles Grassley of Iowa reported that Trump wasn't under personal investigation, but Comey refused to say so publicly, explaining that if Trump later fell under investigation, he'd have to announce it, and that's basically ridiculous, is what the Daily Wire is saying. Now, again, this is a matter of inflection too, I believe, in that, well, not inflection so much, just a matter of how things are said, right? So if Comey is telling Trump privately, you're not under investigation for anything, but there's this narrative out there that you are, of course you would want him to come out and just say it, right? So,
well, here's the you say,
but to say that
we say that because we're civilians and we're not used to that game, and Trump is also not used to that game.
No.
So it's possible that he does feel that way, and people, and your long-standing, your establishment, whether regardless of side, they're used to playing that game.
Yeah.
They're used to maintaining, and while they're amidst of being accused of this, that, and the other. I find it amazing how President Clinton did his job, during the whole impeachment saga. It's like
oh, he got by.
Exactly. That's my whole point.
He was pretty relaxed.
I think that's my whole point. Like, you have this whole thing going on, and you're just progressing. And you've had senators and representatives here and there with all types of scandal here and there. Kwame Kilpatrick in Detroit, all the investigation that was going on, he was going out and doing events and acting like he was the savior of Detroit when he had a federal investigation going on. And most people were like, when we found out and revealed that he was being investigated and he was getting arrested, it was like, oh, okay. He wasn't acting like he was, stressed. So when you're in that role and you're doing that thing and you play that game, it's different compared to. I mean, the man's a civilian, and he's only been in office for what?
3 months, 4 months.
4 months. Yeah.
4.
Yeah. I mean, it's June now, so like close to 5. But the man's been in office for less than half a year, so he's not used to that game. So I can see where that's a possibility, but again, semantics and inflection.
Yep. Well, you know what? Unless something major happens over the course of the next week, something huge politically, with E3 coming up this weekend, maybe we need another geek podcast next week to follow up on that.
Sounds good to me.
Maybe get Clarky together.
We can do a co-one.
Yeah.
And share it on both ours.
Yeah.
I'm sure my listeners would like to hear some other stuff. Yeah, that sounds
absolutely.
good to me.
I think that's what I'm thinking. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. For more from the Generation Y Conservative, me, you can find me on social media. Once again, you can search for the Generation Y Conservative on Facebook. And once you get there, hit the like button and share the page, share this video, share the podcast, share any of the articles I post. What I want you to do on that is go to the notifications following. Go down to notifications, get notifications. You'll be informed when we go live with the podcast on Thursdays or Fridays. It's just a matter of when I have my guests available, but it's more of a fun behind-the-scenes thing anyway. You can also find me on YouTube. You can subscribe to me on there and hit that little bell to get notifications when the videos go live, because conservatives' voices are being shut down on that platform and being lost among the search results. So we want to make sure that that content rises to the top and that you have the adequate way of being notified immediately when that content becomes available. You can also find me on Twitter and interact with me there by following @GenYConservative without the E on the end. We could certainly get into some fun back and forth on that. And you can also find the audio version of this podcast on Google Play, Stitcher, and now iTunes, thanks to KLRNRadio, which you may be listening to me now in a rebroadcast of this on Sundays from 3 to 6 p.m. I want to thank Matt for stopping by. Once again, if you're interested in his stuff, you can search for Geek Nation and the clothing line in his image on Facebook, and you can also find him on some stuff on YouTube as well. And I want to thank everyone else for tuning in as well. It was a good night of topics, and we certainly got into some good side topics as well. So have a great night, and God bless America.